The time is 7:31. I call the October 7th meeting of Yardley Borough Council to order. Please stand for the pledge to our flag.
Sorry.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Sargent or Manager Johnson, roll call, please.
Okay, Mr. Stump? Mr. Carlson?
Here.
Mr. Finer?
Present.
Ms. Thompson?
Present.
Ms. Siegel-Morris?
Present.
Ms. Scherer? And Mr. Applebaum?
Go Phillies, yay, I'm here.
With 6 members present, we have a quorum of council. We'll begin with community announcements, starting with the table. Any announcements about upcoming events happening in the borough?
Sorry, Madam President. I can't see you, sorry. So the Yardley Beer Fest is October 18th. Check the Yardley Business Association website for more information. We're also getting ready for Carvathon and Canal. Rich and I and Brad Varney are finishing up planning that. Thank you. And that, of course, would be beginning the the Sunday before Halloween for Carvathon, and the first night going for 7 days.
26th. Great.
26th, thank you.
Yep. Any other community announcements from the table? Any community announcements from the public this evening about upcoming events, community events? Yes, Ms. Corsi.
Shirley Corsi, 195 South Canal Street, and also Gather Place Museum, 188 South Canal Street. I may have to take more than 3 minutes, Council President, because what I want to announce I feel is very exciting and happy news. I just want to spend some time and speak about something I'm very happy about. Gather Place Museum is bringing America 250 to Yardley. Since April, I did a kickoff event at the Yardley Friends Meeting House, and next Friday, October 17th, from 5 to 8, we're bringing it back to Yardley Friends Meeting House, and it's in collaboration with Experience Yardley and America 250 on the state level, and Bucks 250 on the county level. So I'm really happy. I've been working on this actually a year and a half since I was asked to join Bucks 250 and America 250. I'm not sure if everybody knows a lot about it. I'm sure you've heard, next year is our nation's 250th anniversary. Well, I'm really happy that Gather Place is bringing it to Yardley because our state wants all of our counties and all of our boroughs and towns to also participate. We know that the core is going to be Philadelphia. There's going to be a lot going on, a lot of sports activity, and our governor feels it would be great if some of those visitors internationally throughout the country will come out to Bucks County. So that's why I was asked to participate over a year ago under the auspices of Commissioner Harvey. He pulled in all the museums, Mercer Museum, Grundy, and Gather Place. So I've been working with that a year and a half, and I recently was appointed to the Bucks 250 board because I was really involved, so I guess they figured they elected me to the board. So I'm real active in this. And also on the state level, at our event next Friday, 17th, we're having our own local businesswoman and president of Experience Yardley speaking. I think it's just wonderful to highlight Elizabeth Young and all the work she's done with Commonplace Reader and, of course, Experience Yardley. So she's one of our speakers. Our theme is Remember the Ladies, locally and nationally. Just like Abigail Adams wrote in 1776 to her husband, remember the ladies at the formation of our nation. Well, it took a while for the ladies. It wasn't until 1919 that we got the federal women's right to vote. But our theme throughout this whole America 250 is a theme that I feel is important. We talk about George Washington, talk about Martha Washington, you talk about John Adams, talk about Abigail Adams, and don't forget the African-American women who were a part. So we're going to feature just a walk-through view. You'll meet and greet Lucretia Mott. You'll meet and greet Abigail Adams, Ida B. Wells Barnett. It's going to be a wonderful Victorian era theme. You all know I like to dress up, so it won't just be me. And I have flyers here. I would love everyone to have a copy. And I want to just say, I really appreciate the support that Gather Place has really grown. I have about 5 or 6 ladies now that work with me. And really, this is a collaborative effort. I can't express that more. The Yardley Friends meeting has been wonderful to facilitate my second. It's a launch. For 6 months, I've been working to expand this. In April, I received a semiquin grant from the state level, and that was no easy task. It was a very competitive grant, and it was, there's 67 counties throughout Pennsylvania, and we all had a chance to write a grant. There were only 3 Bucks County museums that got the grant: the Washington Crossing, the Children's Museum, and Gather Place. And so I really feel happy from once I started 3 years ago renovating this little overlooked church, African-American church, that from a neighborhood I'm from. So we're going to also have, our keynote speaker will be former Governor Mark Swiker. He's quite the historian, and my whole thing is about history, and he speaks very well about history. I think he's from Levittown, so he knows our history. He's going to speak. He's also a co-chair. Many of the former governors are former governors. They're on the state level. He is going to speak. So it's not an event just for the ladies, even though the theme is Remember the Ladies. We want ladies and bring your significant others to come out and support. We're only asking a $25 donation. And I'm happy to say our food, I wrote a letter to ShopRite of Yardley and McCaffrey's. They are donating enough to cover our light refreshments. And the Friends of Yardley's donating some beverages, and some of my other ladies are making lemonade. And so it's going to be very nice, and of course we'll be nicely dressed, but everybody just come as you are. So come on out and support us, and I really want to emphasize, you're going to be hearing more of this. Gather Place Museum is bringing America 250 to Yardley Borough, and we expect a lot of visitors, and I want you to know, all the museums around here are doing this. We're all having Mercer Museum, Grundy Museum, Newtown. All the museums are having events. And go to gatherplace.org, and we'll be your place, not only to participate in what we're doing, we want to promote and we network what all these other museums are doing for America 250. And last thing, we're also having a America 250 theme book club. I'm happy to say, Commonplace Reader, they have many book clubs, and I took the idea to Liz a few months ago, and she said, of course. So our first book is Mrs. Lincoln's Dressmaker, and that's going to be at the Commonplace Reader. Get your book now, you only have 2 more weeks. And that's hosted, of course, by Liz Young under Gather Place, and our theme is America 250. So we'll be selecting many books about the women that have supported our nation. And this one's really good, Mrs. Lincoln Dressmaker, who was an African-American woman. But we're very diverse. Our theme is telling the whole story. It's not just Black history, it's not women's history or Native American, it's America's history. And that's the theme of Gather Place. Thank you, and please.
We can come get them. and distribute
Okay,
them. Yeah,
and I'll
absolutely.
give a few.
Madam President, can I make a quick comment? Shirley and everyone in the audience and everyone watching at home. I think what is not evident and because she's, just a lovely person, wouldn't, overdo it, but you really have undertaken things from the renovation of the church and all these events, and now this really major project on your own shoulders. I mean, I know you have help, but but not in the way that people might think. There's no real paid
It's all
staff.
volunteer,
It's
like
all volunteer.
Martha recently joined us.
But I want to make that point, and so I really would like us all to give a hand to Shirley for undertaking.
Well, thank you, but it's my honor, because I'm giving back to my community. Thank you. Thank you, Councilman.
Oh, you're welcome.
Didn't see any other hands for community announcements about upcoming events. So our guests from PEMA were not able to make it tonight, so we'll postpone that presentation for a later council meeting. We are going to pull up the CBA discussion to community announcements. We're not going to be, so the CBA is the collective bargaining agreement that we have with our full-time police officers. We are currently in the process of negotiating the CBA for the next fiscal year, the next 3 fiscal years. We're not going to be discussing that tonight. We're going to be talking about the underlying information about the pressures on on policing and on kind of our salaries in the borough and how we stay competitive with other municipalities. So we've invited Corporal Clark here this evening. I'd like people at home to be able to see him, so if you're comfortable, you can sit here or you can sit at the table. What would you prefer?
Either one works for me.
Okay.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Take one just for my shares. Okay, so good evening, everyone. I am Corporal Adam Clark of the Yardley Borough Police Department. I'd like to thank President Thompson and Borough Manager Johnson, all the members of council for inviting me here to speak tonight. I have put together a PowerPoint presentation. Forgive my sloppy PowerPoint skills. This is a new procedure for me. So I put it together best I can. So I'm going to be addressing an important topic tonight. Next slide, please. Why you don't bunt in the bottom of the ninth inning when you're down by 1 run with a runner on second? No outs.
a lot.
Doesn't make, it makes zero sense to me. I don't understand it at all. Okay, so that was a joke, but now that I have your attention, I'll get into the actual topic at hand. And the contrast was better on that when I initially made it. So I'm going to discuss issues in recruitment and retention that we are experiencing here in Yardley Borough and that we are experiencing nationwide. It's a nationwide issue. It's not located just here. A little bit of context about myself personally. I've been with the department for 11 and a half years. 9 and a half of those years have been full-time. I've had 5 years at the rank of corporal. And I want to preface everything I'm about to say by saying that nothing I'm about to say is intended to be derogatory about Yardley Borough or about the Yardley Borough Police Department or the people of Yardley or any individual on this council, because it's not about that. It's just the fact that we're grappling with much bigger issues. You know, Yardley Borough does not exist in a vacuum. We exist in a labor market. And if we're not competitive in that market, then we're not going to succeed at recruiting and retaining personnel. That's just the reality. Next slide. So, like I said, this is a nationwide issue. It's not just limited to this area. Numbers are down. Recruitment and retention numbers are down all across the country. Next slide. And in the Philadelphia region, Philadelphia Police, I don't have specific numbers on County of Bucks or Philadelphia County regarding this, but I can tell you just anecdotally that the job market has shifted tremendously since I started just 11 and a half years ago. We're not getting the applications we used to. It used to be that I could always tell when an academy class in the area graduated because there would just be like dozens of young men in suits showing up, application in hand, oh, it must be time for Montco Academy's graduation or whatever. And we're not seeing that anymore. It's just, it's not what it used to be when I started. Next slide. So specifically here in the municipal police labor market in the Bucks County area, we've lost, Yardley Borough Police have lost 2 full-timers in the past 14 months, Officer Romberger and Officer Kolshinsky. We've lost a number of part-timers as well, Konow, Nagel, Murphy, Gergel, et cetera. All of these officers went to other departments just in the Bucks County area, in fact, very close by. And these are all fine officers. I mean, we were sad to see all of them go, but the reality is that we're just not competitive. We're not competitive in this job market. So what do I mean by not competitive? Let's take a look at the next slide. I don't know how well you can see it on the screen there. I kind of hoped it would show up a little bigger. But I crunched, this is the numbers for nearly every full-time civil service police department in Bucks County. And if you look on there, you'll see that Yardley Borough Police is at the bottom because they're listed alphabetically. But even if they were listed numerically, Yardley Borough Police would still be at the bottom. Most of these numbers were pulled from AmericansForFairTreatment.org. You're free to go look that up yourself if you like. You go under Resources and Data. You can look up collective bargaining agreements. So feel free to double check me. I double and triple checked the math. If you average all those numbers together, you get an average starting salary of $69,347 versus our current contract in by the way, these are all 2025 numbers unless noted otherwise. So you get an average of $69,347 starting, and then after 1 year of service, with some of them do it, some departments do it after 18 months or 2 years. I noted those with asterisks in the chart there. That averages out to $79,851. So as you can see, our numbers are for this year 44,000 and 50,000. So we're way behind the curve. Now, in particular of note, I had a very interesting conversation with Chief Fico of the Richland Township Police Department. You'll see I put that one in boldface. He was telling me that they just renegotiated their contract, and from 2025, the figures were starting at $63,191 to $70,861. They renegotiated their contract to starting in 2026, to start at $92,469, and then after 1 year of service, go up to $96,630. Now, what's interesting there is that he told me personally that he saw applications jump to 74 from 8 the previous year. So when that new contract was passed, starting in 2026, applications went from 74 to 8. And that's a massive increase. So I just want to also note that I'm focusing, for the purposes of this presentation, I'm focusing on the bottom end. I'm focusing on what we need to recruit and retain. None of this is in my personal best interest. I've been full-time 9.5 years. I'm a corporal. I'm at the top end of the pay scale. I'm not making the case that I need to be paid more. What I'm making the case for is that the Yardley Borough Police Department is simply not competitive with what's available elsewhere, just in Bucks County alone. So, questions, comments?
Just quickly, I want to just provide some context on the presentation. So, right, the CBA happens and a few people get to sit with officers and hear this. And I think it's really important that during budget season, we're going to see some numbers from Don and Paula and Patty, that we all see this. And I also want to say that we have made strides in recent years to catch up, but because of this retention and officer pool issue, the moving target, we're chasing it, but it keeps getting further away, right? So we have made larger than historic increases in our CBA negotiations the past 2 cycles, but we keep falling more behind because of these labor shortages. That's my understanding anyway. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I would say that's accurate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions? Yeah. Would you like to take questions from the public? Is that okay? Sure.
Hi, Jason Goldstein, a borough resident. So on the salaries, how does that compare to, like, say, the median household income in Bucks County and or the poverty line in Bucks County?
I don't have those figures. I don't know.
It's 44,000, which is very low.
Yep. Yep.
I guess for compare, I looked it up. So the median household income in Bucks County is about $100,000 in 2025. And then the poverty line across the entire U.S. is 31,000. So anyway, not really a question, just some benchmarks, if you will.
Thank you for your insight. Yeah. Appreciate it.
Have you given, sorry, I'm just going to shoot questions your way.
Okay.
Have you given thought to, I mean, clearly it stands out, there's no question. It makes the case for itself, right? But have you given thought to other factors like, is there, and I'm looking at this list trying to find correlations between like the quality of the job and the salary. Like, is there any link in terms of, do the places that are lower quality of life have higher salaries to make up for it and vice versa? Or is there sort of not really any correlation? Does that, the question make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think I understand. I don't think that's, I mean, I think that's a factor of many factors that are going into these. So I don't think that there's necessarily a one-to-one connection between those things. Probably the more relevant factor would be overall municipal revenue for the municipality. But there's a number of different factors. And there's additional considerations. Some departments get more vacation time or sick time or other perks that benefit. I mean, this is just, you know, you could weigh all kinds of different factors in, but this is just the raw numbers that I put together.
Okay, yeah, because it's kind of a bit all over the map, and what, I'm trying to figure out, how are they figuring it out? But I understand they have a process like we have, and they go through this whenever they do, and this is where it winds up.
And again, these are just starting at 1 year.
Right.
This isn't even factoring in top out. Some departments have 4 years to top out, some have 10 years to top out, you know, and some top out, start lower and top out higher, and some, you know, there's all kinds of different factors. I'm just focusing specifically on these because these are basically these are the recruitment numbers. You know, this is how you get full-timers in the door and working. And so that's what I was focusing on.
Hi, thank you for doing this. It's the first time I've ever seen someone from the Yardley Borough Police Department give us these numbers. So these were the same numbers under Chief Kelly, correct? While he was here, they were still the same starting salaries. And following up on what Councilman Feiner just said, I think there are a lot of variables, especially the fact that we are currently have a police transition committee that is discussing disbanding the police department. That certainly factors into all of these officers that have just left. And certainly, from what I understand, high crime areas, like really high crime areas where you have murders and things like that, they tend to have higher salaries. And as again, Councilman Finer was trying to point out that sometimes a small town like this, the quality, I'm not saying that you shouldn't be paid more. I absolutely think that should happen. But I just think it's kind of convenient that you're giving this presentation now while we have a police transition committee that is trying to determine whether we should disband the police department because we can't possibly afford to pay officers what they're worth. So that needs to be factored in to this conversation also. But I do appreciate that you came and did this.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Corporal Clark.
Thank you, Madam President.
Is this
Thank you,
yours?
Council.
That's mine. Oh, that's mine. I'll move back in here, and we will move on to public comment. This is the portion of the meeting where members of the public can address council on matters not on the agenda. Please approach and state your name and whether or not you live in the borough, and keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. Public comment, please. Welcome, Dr. Perlmutter.
Thank you. Dawn Perlmutter, Yardley Borough. My public comment segues well with the last comment, is that with the Police Transition Committee, I had requested, since you only meet once a month for like an hour, and that a lot of the work is all being done behind the scenes, and that you're using a share file to communicate with each other. The public only gets to hear sort of, I don't even know what we're going to hear at the next meeting for an hour, but I had requested that the share file that has to do with all of these discussions be made public. I have had to do this through right-to-know requests, and I have to constantly keep doing them, and what I'm finding is I'm getting a treasure trove of information that a lot of people in the community would really like to know about. For example, all the subcommittees you had decided on, all of the different, the other thing I'd like to say is there is now a Yardley Borough Save the Police Facebook page where the person who has it published some of the right-to-know records from early on when you clearly stated that, let me just see it, this was that the Police Transition Committee was evaluating a shared services model with Lower Makefield Township, which could include partial or full coverage. So a lot of people didn't have that information. So I just think, since so many people are interested, that these files become public. I mean, it's so easy. You just put them up on the website, and then I don't have to do all the right-to-know requests that you always complain about that I do, but I have to do them because it's the only way anybody gets information. Just one other thing is that I am requesting that council take a motion to take the portion of that Police Transition Committee to make a motion that you're not going to disband the police department. If you were to do that tonight, it would probably considerably help with the retention problem that you just discussed, and it would also help with officers who have to worry about whether they're going to have a job or not. I have to say this every time. It's not fair to our police officers, full and part-time, to have to worry whether they're going to have a job. So I'm requesting, any of you could make that motion to, with the Police Transition Committee, keep it, change the name if you want, but take that part of it about disbanding off, just make a motion to not do that so that you can possibly increase retention and not stress everybody out. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any other public comment this evening? Yes, Ms. Howlett.
Good evening. My name's Martha Howlett. I live in Yardley Borough. I'm also commenting on the police department, police transition committee. I believe some people are seeing the committee as part of a false binary, either keep Yardley Borough Police as it is, or outsource to Laura Makefield. And I think this completely mischaracterizes the purpose of the committee. Its mission is to look at the whole spectrum of potential options, from small cost savings to larger resource sharing, and use that resource to inform how the borough can fund its police sustainably over time and pay market rate for new officers. By investigating all options, even unpopular ones, the committee would be doing its due diligence and ensuring that it has the data to make an informed recommendation. This is part of responsible governance. You don't want to potentially increase taxes a lot or inflict some sort of large-scale change and say that you never even bother to investigate alternatives. I understand that a lot of people are anxious about the future of the police department, and I agree it's an absolutely vital part of our town and that our officers are hardworking, honorable, wonderful people and should be paid market rate. I agree with that as well. But I don't think all the anxiety that people have right now should be used to make assumptions about the committee's intentions or accuse them of a predetermined outcome. The committee is a fact-finding body, and I think we should let them do that, gather the facts, respect their work, and give them the time and support that they need. Also, President Thompson has taken a lot of heat on this during previous public comments lately, and I think it's unjust and not at all a fair representation of her reputation in the community at large. Like all council members, she's a volunteer and has devoted thousands of hours to making Yardley a wonderful place to live, all on top of excelling at a demanding job, caring for 2 young children, volunteering in the community in her church, and being a support to her friends and families. I've always known her to be a champion of the police department. In fact, her love for Yardley Police was one of the first things we talked about when we sat down together one-on-one. She's also believes in the democratic and collaborative decision making, and I've seen her go out of her way multiple times to incorporate different viewpoints. The vast majority of people in Yardley feel the same way I do and are grateful for President Thompson's service in public office to Yardley. Thank you.
Well said. Thank you for your comments and your support and for understanding the process. Thank you.
Shirley Coursey, I just want to make a quick comment. I didn't know I was going to make this comment, but I just feel, I'll kind of echo what Martha was saying. I just feel like knowing Yardley, like I know Yardley many, many years ago, many decades, the culture of Yardley needs to be the culture of Yardley, and I believe it is. I just feel like so many voices on negativity. We need an equal amount on positivity. We need, if we disagree, it does not have to be personal, mean-spirited. Over the last few months, whether I'm here or most people watch the replay, personal attacks are wrong. No matter what side you're on, I just feel everybody has a right to express how they feel and but personal attacks are wrong. And whatever side, I think there's no need for personally attacking our public servants. I think we should listen, even if you disagree. There's no good reason for personal attacks. There's enough of that going on throughout our nation, and I think Yardley Borough, knowing Yardley Borough as much as I know Yardley Borough, we need to retain the culture of our borough, and personal attacks are wrong.
Any other public comment this evening? We'll now consider the consent agenda dated October 7th, 2025, which includes items A through H, approval of minutes dated September 16th, 2025, approval of revised minutes of September 2nd, 2025, certificate of appropriateness 25-22, 82 East Afton for the Yardley Inn reconstruction, certificate of appropriateness, 25-24, 84 South Main roof, certificate of appropriateness 25-25, 185 South Canal roof, appointment to the sewer authority, term ending 1/1/2028, amendment to the 2025 MMO, and B, Bergvall 2025 audit proposal, DCED, and single line audit. Does any member of council wish to remove an item from the consent agenda?
There's 2 additional event permits that were added.
Sorry, yes, event permit for Kaden's Corner Lamppost and event permit for the 3rd annual Wave of Light event in Buttonwood Park, 10/15/25. And a request to remove?
Yeah, remove number F.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other requests?
Remove item I, just because I don't know what it is. I'd like to discuss that further.
Sure. All right, so we will consider A through E, G, H, and J. Do I hear a motion to approve those items?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion was made by Councilperson Scher, seconded by Councilperson Siegel Morris. Any discussion from council on those items? Any discussion from the public? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. We'll now consider appointment to the sewer authority, term ending 1/1/2028.
Yeah, I'll kick this one off as chair of community outreach. So, our recommended candidate for the sewer authority is Mr. Don Carlson, who is not running for re-election like myself, and so looks like you got roped into something already. And really, what I just wanted to say was to speak my recommendation for Mr. Carlson. So I was actually approached earlier this year by the sewer authority to ask if I knew of any good candidates that I would recommend. And Mr. Carlson's been serving as the liaison to the committee. He's done a fantastic job, and I recommended that they pursue him as their applicant to the sewer authority. And then we did advertise it to give anyone else who wanted to jump in. I believe, did we have any other applicants, or was he the sole applicant? So what I do want to say is, because I've sat next to Mr. Carlson for almost 2 years now, we've agreed on things, we've disagreed on things, I've got to know him a lot over the years. I didn't find it necessary to sit you down to conduct a formal interview or to check your references. The people have already elected you to council. Michelle and I both agreed that you would be a good fit.
Perfect addition, yeah.
And so, because I didn't leave my normal paper trail of a form with all that information, I just wanted to state that for the record, that we did open it up to the public, but we really feel that Mr. Carlson is the best fit. And I guess when you leave council, you can't get away from stuff. So I look forward to seeing what I'll be roped into as well.
Wonderful, thank you. Is this allowable, or should it begin in January?
Oh, that's a good point.
So this is an item that Paula had me research previously, and it's not a conflict. Obviously, if something came before council that resulted in a conflict between those positions, he would have to recuse. But just generally, that appointment is okay.
Thank you. Any questions, comments from council? Thank you for stepping up in this way, Don. That's exciting. Any questions or comments from the public? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously.
No,
Or
no,
not
one exception.
unanimously. 601. Sorry, I'm having trouble this evening. 601. Congratulations, Mr. Carlson. All right, and then we have the item I, event permit for Kaden's Corner Lampposts. Who would like to take this one?
Do you want to talk about it?
Mr. Foraker, if you could just come up so we can hear you on the...
Kaden's Corner?
Yes.
We didn't get anything yet, but I thought we would potentially approve it, just in case it does come in. All of the paperwork hasn't come in for this event permit, so we were holding off on it in hopes that it does. It seems to be what they do every year. We're always chasing them. Kaden, her birthday is coming up in the coming weeks before the next council meeting, so perhaps the 13th. So perhaps if you approve it and they come in with the paperwork, then they'll be able to put, as they do every year, they put posters on the lamppost for her birthday.
So Kaden was a local victim of domestic violence, familial domestic violence. So I think this is the one you sent the email about. We can approve it, and if the required forms don't come in time, then the permit would be pulled. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just make the approval conditional on the completion of the permit application.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Do I hear a motion to that effect? So moved. Second. Motion was made by Councilperson Siegel-Morris, seconded by Councilperson Scherer. Any discussion from council?
Nope, that's good. I recalled what it was after the minute you started talking about it. I was like, oh, yeah. So sorry about that.
No worries. Any discussion from the public? I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. All right, finance report. You have before you for consideration the October 7th finance report. Any issues, questions, concerns? Otherwise, it will be accepted by consensus. Okay, police chief's report, please.
Thank you, Madam President. Good evening, Council. For the month of September, your Yardley Borough PD answered 797 calls for service. Of those 797, 387 of those were proactive premise checks done by our officers. We then had 7 parking tickets issued for the month. We recorded 112 traffic stops. Of those 112, 50 citations were issued to motorists. We also investigated 6 accidents and had 4 arrests. That's the stats for the month of September. I would also like to publicly thank a couple people for the Harvest Day event that happened not too long ago. So first and foremost, West 4 Acre for helping us plan the event with the different location. I think it went very well. And also Corporal Clark with his leadership, making sure the event went very well. And to the men and women of both the sworn and the auxiliary police who also helped to ensure the event went with us good success. We also had gotten a letter from Chief Clouser of the New Britain Township Police Department. I'm sure many of you know that the Poland president was in town not too long ago. Patrolman First Class Scott Frank assisted them with that detail. And he just wanted to state that on behalf of the New Britain Township Police Department, he would like to personally thank you and the Yardley Borough Police Department for your support you provided. Your personnel displayed true professionalism that exemplifies your agency. The resources you provided were instrumental in the accomplishment of safety and security of the Polish president's visit with no issues. So thank you, Chief Clouser, for that letter. I also have for discussion the conditional hiring of 2 part-time officers. So with that, the discussion goes as follows. Myself, I reviewed the application. The applicants were both interviewed by myself, Manager Johnson, and Councilwoman Michelle Scherer, if I'm saying that correctly this time, of the Public Safety Committee. The panels who interviewed the applicant were satisfied with the candidate's knowledge, skills, background, and abilities. I recommend to the council that we conditionally offer conditional hire to both Daniel Baxter and to Corey McConaughey as a part-time borough police officer. It is understood that this offer of employment is conditional upon the candidate passing all the required examinations and all other MOPEC eligibility requirements. My motion is that I respectfully request council consider a motion for Yardley Borough to extend a conditional hire to both Daniel Baxter and to also Corey McConaughey as part-time police officers pending certification from the Pennsylvania Municipal Police Officers Education and Training Commission.
Thank you.
And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Chief. Do I hear a motion to that effect?
Second.
Motion was made by Councilperson Applebaum, seconded by Councilperson Scherer. Discussion from council?
Yes, quick question, Madam President.
Yes.
Just out of curiosity, Sorry, thank you. A quick question, Chief. When do you think that this hiring could take place?
I'm hoping by next council meeting.
The next council meeting, okay.
Yes, sir.
That's all I wanted to know.
Other questions? Questions from the public? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously.
Could I
Thank you, Chief Golden.
Thank you very much.
I didn't have an opportunity, but I wanted to personally, I know you've already thanked your team and Wes. I wanted to make sure that it's known that it's not a small undertaking to do Harvest Day. And the amount of collaboration between Wes, the police, and I would be remiss not to mention our crew at Harvest Day, particularly Rich Wayne, and others that are on the committee. We want to see events like this flourish, and we really appreciate how much you have tried to accommodate us and still be safe and have a fun event. So I just wanted to thank you personally here in council chambers. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you. All right, moving on to the manager's report, please.
Just briefly, I want to touch on some of my points through my report. We had a pension audit for both the uniform and the non-uniform pensions. We also had a liquid fuels audit that was completed as well. Both audits were complete with no findings. We continue to have some electrical issues. We're having an electrician attempt to see and diagnose and fix what the issues are, so hopefully we won't be in the dark again. I continue to do some of the legwork to hopefully apply for an LSA grant to really work on our building that is in desperate need of work, so this electrical issues will now be added to that as well. I instructed the Public Works person to move forward with a painting of Main Street in front of 24 South Main for the businesses that had issues a couple weeks ago with people parking too close. We're investigating a sinkhole on Brown Street. It's not believed to be the sewer authority or the water people, so we're investigating ourselves. We're probably going to have to fix it. It is quite deep. Soft Walk Academy had a grand opening on Sunday. It was extremely well attended, very well done. This is a great new nail salon in town, and I encourage everybody to go visit. We have had 4 zoning applications. We have 1 zoning hearing at the end of October for impervious surface, 12 building permits, 9 UNOs, and that is my report.
Manager Johnson, could you add to the list for the Borough Hall, fixing the thermostat so it's not like a refrigerator in here? When the
Excuse me, it's working.
That's true. It's better than not working.
You can either have lights,
It's on or off.
you can
Oh, yeah, next thing you want is light.
Oh, no in between.
Better to be too cold than too hot. Hear me snoring if it gets hot in here.
We don't.
All right, and you have some items?
Yes. First, I'm asking council, you guys already approved the new snow contract for 2025-2028 with Evergreen Landscape. This is just to have the contract official signed and taken care of.
Do I hear a motion to approve and sign the contract?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion was made by Councilperson Finer, seconded by Councilperson Scherer. I think she beat you, Councilperson Stump.
That's fine.
Smidge. Any discussion from council? Any discussion from the public? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
And I have one more thing. On 7/15, council voted to adopt the 2026 budget calendar. Since then, we had to adjust some dates because of some unavailability. So I am asking council to vote to amend the 2026 budget calendar to hold the presentation of the 2026 preliminary budget on 10/21 instead of 11/5.
So at our next meeting rather than in a month.
Yes.
You're asking for a vote or just consensus?
Vote to amend.
A vote.
Because you voted to establish the initial calendar, you need a vote to amend.
Do I hear a motion to amend? So moved. Is there a second? Motion is made by Councilperson Siegel Morris, seconded by Councilperson Scherer. Discussion. Discussion from the public.
I'd just like to comment that we'll still have the review periods the same as what was in the original. So we'll have a review period basically in the end of November, yeah.
So extrapolating here,
Yes.
we're doing our discussion tonight, and that means people need inputs.
Well, I'm hoping we'll walk away with our discussion tonight, and then we can just go do the...
But, or tomorrow, but it can't
Yes.
be next meeting, because we're trying to vote on it next meeting, so.
Right.
That's the read between the lines here.
Yep.
Okay. Any further discussion? I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Abstention? Motion carries.
Yep. And next is our 2026 budget discussion. Mr. Carlson, would you like to take over?
Could you pull up the PowerPoint, please? Okay, I'm going to go fast I'm going to go as fast as I can. Last time we met, we talked about how we were doing in 2025. Now we want to see, and how we did in 2024. And now we want to see how the 2026 is stacking up. So to remind everybody, first I'm going to talk about revenues. Let's go to the next page. Next page, please. There. I'm going to talk about revenues and then expenses. So as I discussed last time, we had about $18,475 favorable revenues in 2024 compared to what our budget was put together. So that helped us a little bit. Primarily the inspection fees came in much hotter at the end of the year than we thought it would taper off, but it didn't last year. And then our current full year projection, this is based on all of the data that we have on all the costs through the end of September. It looks like we're going to be a little light on the tax revenues, a little over on real estate transfer, we think. Interest is the one that surprised me the most. I thought we'd be down at 3% interest rates on our monies, but we're still up around 4%. So we got extra revenue compared to what we thought. And we got a recycling grant that we didn't anticipate, and this pension state aid, we never forecast that. We just see how it comes in. Inspection fees also took a nice hit, and favorable hit in September. So we're ended up with about $69,000 of favorable income for the year. So then the third column over is comparing where we're going to end this year with what the roll-up for 26 budget says. So in tax revenues, assuming there's no tax increase, obviously it's a tax increase, we'll up that number, but I think we'll recover some of the missing revenues that we didn't get this year. I think we'll get half of that back. So that's a $10,000 favorable. Real estate transfer tax, I'm projecting it to be a little lower than this year. This year we're projecting 110, dropping it down to 105. Cable fees taper off a little bit as people cut the cord. Interest is a big unfavorable because now I am saying that I think next year interest rate, the overall interest rate we'll get on our money will be 3%, not 4%. I could be wrong, but I just think it moved to the right a year, but it's a conservative number. And if it keeps running hotter and better, that's good. We'll take it. And forecasting that we'll get another recycling grant about the same size. Police services, this has been a challenging one this year because of our, when we've been down in the number of police officers, particularly part-timers, we haven't been able to do as much work up at Abrams this year. So I'm seeing that degrade a little bit more next year. So we're 17 grand off this year, and then another 1,500 next year. So it's gonna, I think we'll do the best we're gonna do next year is at the rate we did this year, roughly. Zoning inspection fees, I'm gonna stop thinking it's fallen off and predict it to be the same as this year, basically. Zoning fees is a recovery in zoning fees because it was extra low this year. This is projecting a more normal year of people coming before the zoning hearing board. Private contributions, it was a heavy year this year, and we don't predict that one. It just happens, so it makes it look smaller next year. Same thing with licenses, fines, and rents. We never try to boost those up. Those just happen. Well, obviously, the rents are pretty much fixed, but fines and licenses just happen. And so I'm going back to the normal run rate. So when you add those all together, the total impact on the revenue side for what happened this year, or what happened in 25, plus what people are rolling up to want to have happen in 2026 is $35,796. So we get a little more extra revenue. So that's basically $1 million. So there's $1 million worth of favorable stuff going into budget season. So let's go to the next slide. This is the expense side of the equation. So no, back one right there. Yeah. So we were favorable a little bit on the revenue side. So now what about the expenses? As we talked at length last time, our most favorable on the expense side was good performance at the end of 2024 in the police department, had an extra $8,500. And then this year, $80,000. We're still predicting about $80,000 more favorability this year, primarily because we don't have the chief here, and the inability to fill a few slots. So that's that. Now, next year, I'll do these one line at a time, going left to right. So that favorability of $80,000 shifts significantly next year to $135,000 negative. The numbers that I'm showing here tonight are what is currently in the negotiations. This is the current proposal from the police department. So it's what they are willing to accept. We haven't decided yet what we're going to do with it, but it's the latest proposal on the table. That's what these numbers represent. So because it was a lot of favorability this year and last, even with an increase of $135,000 in costs next year, the total impact is $55,000. So there's another $1.5 million of increased costs. General government performed well in 24. And the full year projection for this year is good too, at 5,700 favorable. It'll be unfavorable a bit next year. Obviously, we're giving salary increases and some costs are going up. But the overall impact is still favorable in those two departments put together. Audit and collection, to remind you, last year, this is really our fault in projecting. We didn't realize we were going to have to do line item audits, so we didn't budget for line item audit, which we had to do this year. It's not that they're charging us more, it's a more extensive number of audits that we have to do. And so we're going to forecast that we're going to continue at that rate next year. And it's primarily because of the sidewalk project, big projects that you manage, the number of projects you have and the amount of money that you move in and out, particularly with the elevations and everything, determines what level of auditing you have to have. So that's a little bit of a headwind for, not an additional headwind for next year, but a headwind since we did the 25 budget. Solicitor costs, a little bit of an increase for next year, but pretty close to a pretty good number for 24 and 25 combined. Right to know requests have been good, favorable this year. Hopefully they'll stay that way. Engineering, I'm projecting, will be about $4,000 underperformed this year, or over more cost than we budgeted. So that's a little bit of a challenge. But next year will be a little better. I'm saying will be only the roll-up of the current engineering stuff before we get into the special projects on the next page is $1,400 better than where I think we're going to end this year. So that's a little bit better. Grants, just to remind everybody, we grabbed from this year's number of 24.8 and spent that on some grants at the end of last year, November of last year. So it made last year look underperforming. But so far we have like 1,200 left we could do this year, which we probably won't because you can't really get a grant for that amount unless we tap into next year's. And this represents the full request for 29.5 is the request for grants for next year. So this number represents that whole amount in there of the 1,500 additional requested. Building maintenance has been favorable year to date, so a few more projects next year in there. We did go through, as we normally do, and called out some of the wish list items, but kept a lot of them in. So that's a net overall favorable building maintenance. Public works, signals, street lights, again, is a kind of favorable, not big money. Snow was a little bit of a surprise. We had 3 storms, 2 in January and the first week of February, which we didn't have the year before, so we had dropped our budget a little too much. So that's but we're predicting that it won't be bad next year. We'll see. Building inspections, obviously, when you have much more on the revenue side, you're going to have more on the cost side. Those go hand in hand. That's predicted, and we're predicting next year for it to be the same level this year. Code enforcement, planning and zoning, a little bit favorable this year just because there haven't been as many zoning hearing boards costs to pay out to their lawyer and others. But we're putting that back to a normal rate next year, so that's a little bit unfavorable. The comprehensive plan, which we had budgeted to spend the $15,000 this year, we didn't. But we're leaving it in the plan to spend next year. So that's unfavorable compared to this year, but that's something that we consciously decided to do last year. Insurance has gone up a little bit, continues to go up a little bit as it does with personal insurance, as well as the ones that we need for the borough. And pension contributions moved a little bit. So again, here, if you look at the total on the expense side, because of the police department favorability, the net favorability is $67,700, carrying through from 2025. And so when we do that, even though we have $169,000 of additional costs next year, it nets out to 101 of additional expenses in the planning period. So when you look at the net income, that says we're 65 short. So basically, this is basically more or less a steady state case. There's no real special projects in here. The phase 3 sidewalks, of course, are going to be done. Most of it's spent this year. Some of it will carry over to next year. But we have that money already, and we have the costs committed to do it. So it's not doesn't affect the budget really, because it's already in the plan. So if we did nothing else, if we didn't do any other projects, the belief here is that we have a $65,000 shortage, which is basically 1.8 mils. So let's go forward to the page we want to talk through and have some interaction on. So here what I've laid out is said, okay, on what I call the baseline, you have the 65,000 additional costs we need to come up with, which is at the current mill rate is 1.89 mils. And then now they're listed here are all of the projects that were identified as part of the roll-up from each department wish list that everybody gave that is not in the numbers that I already went over. And so let's talk through that. And then these 2 columns of add to 2026 or defer beyond, that's what we need. I would like us to be able to decide on, preferably tonight, which ones we want to put into our 2026 budget or defer beyond until we get, matching, get funds from grants, et cetera. And then the other thing, before we go through these 8 line items, down at the bottom, just so everybody's aware, what do we have in emergency for the 3 buckets of money that can be used to fund some of these things if we desire to. The emergency fund at the end of this year will stand at about 82,000. It's at 89 now, because we had to tap into that for some of the parking lot issue, the sinkhole issue over in front of Afton, in front of Kramer's, and a couple other emergency things. Capital reserves started the year at 22.8, and we'll end at 236.6. Remember, this is one that we have millage go into that every year. We have about 65 to 70,000 goes into that every year to help that grow. And then obviously we use some of it for grants this year. We used it this year being 25. We may want to tap into it for some projects in 26. And then capital projects, we're really pretty much done with that. We'll probably merge these two together because we made our last loan payment, but we still have 86 balance in there. So those are the funds that are kind of in the works that we have behind the scenes.
Just to clarify, the 86 will go into the 236?
Yeah.
As to one group?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
When those two merge, will that be our total number that's in reserves, like that?
Yeah, roughly.
It's not earmarked for anything. That's,
not yet.
That's basically our savings.
Right.
Got
Not
it.
yet. Okay, so now let's talk about some of the big projects, okay? The roof, we submitted the LSA, I don't remember how big it was. Do you remember how big was our LSA request for the roof? 200? I thought it was.
I think approximately 120.
120, was it about 120? Okay. Based that, we've got a couple preliminary quotes, but they got to be adjusted for prevailing wage, et cetera. So a guesstimate is around the 150.
We also have the other, that loan system, which would be like a.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to talk about that, that may be, it may be desirable, but if our money's making 4, let's see what interest rate the loan is at.
It's very low.
Because we might want, so the question is do we want to do a loan and then not touch our money that's making higher money? That's a good possibility for something like this. So,
Question
yes.
for a minute. I know we were talking about the loan and then the grant. So the grant, it looked like from what I was reading earlier today, is not going to give us the money until 2026, like late in 2026?
Well, we want to at least wait until they make their decision in November. We're within a few weeks of when they would make their awards for.
Right.
So
Right.
if we,
don't get it, though, then we can proceed to get a bank loan?
that's what's up for discussion, yes.
Okay.
That's what we want to decide, yeah. Yep. We obviously don't want to do anything till we hear on the LSA grant request. And then we will, it'll all come at the right time, because we don't actually vote on the final budget till December 17th, so we'll know the answer. Mold remediation we have a quote for like 18.4 to do that. It should be done at the same time we do the roof, in my opinion. And we'll talk about what funds we get it from. TAG, we're still outstanding. We haven't gotten donations for 25. It's 1,500. We paid that out of borough money, but hasn't been replenished by donations yet. And then if we want to continue to be a member of TAG, it's another 1,500 next year. So I list that as a $3,000 expense that we need to say we're really going to get through donations and take it off of here, or decide to fund it some other way. The next one is the drainage grant match. This is the additional, there's a 15% match? I think it's 15, yeah.
In the drainage match, that's to repair the parking lot drainage.
Right.
And the University Drive drainage.
Right.
That's this project.
Those two projects, right, put in together. And then the timing to hear on that is also soon, correct? Yeah, okay. Now, if we don't get that, we have to decide whether we want to apply again, go down some different route, because unfortunately on this one, the 15%, yes, we knew we were going to have to fund that, the 37,607. But then in addition to that, as part of the budget roll-up process, been identified that, well, in order to actually do those two projects, we're going to have another $88,400 in unfunded engineering work that we would need to figure out how we're going to cover. So I kind of look at those two together. That's the price tag to do that work. The next one is the Dolington sidewalk additional engineering, and that's a big one, 143,665. So we have no funding source for that right now. So we got to decide what we want to do with that.
We have an LSA, yeah, we have an LSA application to pay for the design part of that, so we wait to see.
Right, but this is the additional engineering bus, beyond that.
That's been applied.
That.
That additional engineering is what we're talking about.
Right,
So the
exactly.
award was for the other part, right? And this 143 has been applied for the engineering, so we just have to wait for that.
Right.
Yeah.
So my recommendation is to defer it, because we don't want to put it in our budget and go
don't know.
start on it, so it just ends up in the deferred category. But I want to put everything on this so people understand that we're talking through what was requested, and then I want us to consciously put them in the right buckets, and then maybe a third bucket before the night's over. Same thing with the RL, additional engineering, assuming we get approval of that one, is an additional 415 after we get that, which is an estimate, but it's a big number. So that makes that project extremely busy. This additional engineering thing, we got to go after them, because it's kind of like what we thought was what didn't have a match has a 50% match or whatever. I don't remember how big the RL money we went for those flashers and stuff was, but it's kind of like you have a big match coming. The messaging software, remember we had a presentation about the messaging software system. That was a $5,000 thing that we liked, but we got to decide whether or not we want to fund it and how, or do it a different way. And then an additional is requested, thinking that our capital reserves down here are too small. So in addition to the 65 to 70 grand that we get out of the tax money each year to put into that, you had a request in there through this process to put another 50 grand into there. So that's what's on the table. And so I'd like to open up the discussion to people about which, if any of these, we really think should be funded in 2026, and then how would we want to fund it, by increasing the millage, or by loan, or by pounding the pavement for donations, or something else.
I think we should have a bake sale. We could raise $911,000 through a bake sale, no problem. My wife is good at baking.
Caught my attention.
If I could just start, because I think a lot of these items are under Public Works, and I think I could probably make this move a little faster.
Okay.
So all of these, what happens is that the way these grants are structured is they're construction grants, and construction allows like 10%, 12% engineering. They are, unfortunately, the way these grants are made available, they don't include the design component. So because these are projects that are also need to be designed, that's what we're seeing here. So it's clear that these are amounts of money that are not available to us. It's pretty obvious. And so we are seeking the design funds, and we have to understand that these projects will require generally multiple grants. So right now we're seeking the design money for the Dolington through LSA. There may be other places if that doesn't work out, but that's what we're seeking. And I think that's the path forward here. So when we look at, obviously for the RLE grant, we'll see which ones are awarded, and then we can go and try to get design monies for those specific ones. Or they may all be awarded, and then we'll go after all of it. So that should not be in the budget. What should be in the budget is the amount to apply for the grants, the supplemental grants to pay for those projects. Regarding the additional capital reserve request, years ago, like 10 years ago, we used to talk about needing like somewhere in the neighborhood of 200 and change thousand for a potential flood available to us. Capital reserves, though, serves multiple functions. I don't know if anyone has the exact definition of capital reserves. I know it's a discussion that we had in the past. But just so we're all on the same page, I think we should all be understanding what capital reserves is for. Part of that is to cover grant matching. For example, when grants come in, that the timings of it can be all over the place. It can be to cover additional expenses when we're doing a project and we need additional money to do a project. So presumably, like the roof, for example, all of a sudden you need a roof. Well, that's what capital reserves are for. To me, that number that we have in capital reserves is just way too low. We can have those discussions throughout the year as things come up of how to allocate that. But if we're only replenishing it the amount we're replenishing it, what I would advocate to do is to just start putting an extra $50,000 in addition to what we're putting in capital reserves, so that we have the fund a little bit bigger over time, and we can pursue some of the smaller projects like a drainage grant match, for example, well, maybe not, 'cause this one has the additional engineering as well, but bad example, but the idea is just to fund our reserves more and not do anything that we can get potential supplemental grants for.
So can you, in terms of the grant numbers that are up there, tell us what that looks like instead of what's up there?
Yeah.
If we're just talking about the grant applications, would that be above and beyond the grant application line item that we have? Or that wasn't already factored in?
No, that was in where, that's not up here now.
That was the previous slide?
Yeah.
Yeah, the previous slide, I have everything was requested.
Yeah, it
for
was
grants.
29.
29.5.
Yeah, so that's
That's in
fine.
there.
That's already in there, right? So I say keep
So
that.
which ones does that knock off? of?
Not, well, okay, so police roof we're waiting on, so
Yeah.
that is not going to be funded. And if it does get funded, we have an alternate path for that one
Right.
already. So that one has to be adjusted. We'll know that one, okay? So take that one off. The mold, actually, we're getting other estimates too, but let's say it's around that amount. So I put those two together, I agree. The tag is not my area. The drainage grants, that I would defer to you in terms of the possibility of getting supplemental money for the engineering part of that. Do you think that is likely? And where are we with having to do those projects time-wise?
We've had those projects on our horizon for the last few years, Mr. Feiner, regarding hopefully other options for matching. What I was hoping is we would have heard by now on this LSA grant where we pursued to get our engineering services reimbursed that way, and seeing if that's viable for our next large projects for that, for multiple LSA submissions, one for, for Borough Hall, and B, one to supplement additional engineering services.
The engineering services, LSA, it was for the drainage or Dolington? I thought it was for Dolington.
That's a different one.
Different one.
This was,
Yeah.
yeah.
We did, last year, we submitted the LSA for Dolington Road Engineering Services as well as for the police department roof. And just to correct my earlier statement, the police department roof grant submission was, it was more than 120,000. We had submitted for $214,901 was our grant request for the roof.
So part of it is just we have this lag with the LSA. There's a lot of LSA stuff that we don't have answers for. But unless it's like urgent, it doesn't make sense to tap into our reserves to cover it if we think that we have a decent shot. And the LSA grants do award a lot for drainage. You can see, it's a common award. So it's kind of like, if it's not needing to be done this year for sure, put it in, maybe it'll go 2 rounds, and eventually we're likely to get
The
it.
only thing I'm thinking, I'm sorry, Ori, the drainage one, we've been working on that pipe in Kramer's parking lot for quite a few years, as you're aware, and we
Right.
just had another fail a couple months ago, to the point where we had to go out and buy steel plates to put over the remaining parts of that pipe,
Right.
because it's deteriorating to the point where it's just collapsing. If a big truck goes over there, so I think that's something that we're really going to have to look at for next year, just to be responsible to take care of that and get that done. The owner of the parking lot keeps asking month after month when we're going to get this done, because he wants to repave the parking lot. And I get it. This has been going on for many, many years, and we really need to move forward and get that done. So I think that really should stay in the limelight for next year. If we don't get it, we're going to really have to look at that pipe to continue fixing it and get it done to a point where it's going to be safe for people to drive upon.
And that one might actually be a candidate for the same program that we talked about doing the roof with, the capital projects, municipal, whatever that's called.
The loan interest
loan,
loans,
yeah, the
but so
loan
what would be our payback plan for that?
We would just have to look into, the annual, I think it's a 10-year.
I don't know exactly off the top of my head. I will look into back to you on
50%,
that.
50% is upfront, and the other 50% is at like 2% over 10 years. So we have to, you know, it's designed to help municipalities in this situation, but that may be worth looking at for that one. But we don't even know if we got the first grant yet. So this is all premature. We just have to wait and see. And
I'm sorry.
But is there a possibility, I don't remember the grant, maybe you guys do, the university versus the Kramer's lot in terms of need? Would it be possible that we break those out? You know what I mean? And submit, but I don't know, is the Kramer's lot one, the heavy engineering, the extra engineering? I'm just curious as to how that breaks down on the 37607 and on the.
Yeah, we could look at that early, you know, again, I mean, the one thing with combining those together, you sort of get the bidding, you know, those types of services, you know, all wrapped together. But, you know, replacing of that pipe will be significantly less, I think, than what University Drive is. Because University Drive included the inlet replacements and the pipe replacement.
Right. Yeah, that's a really good.
We should probably split those, split that into
Agreed.
two
Let's do
pieces.
that. Councilperson Sherrill.
I agree totally that the sinkholes are kind of more urgent because it's a safety issue.
Sure.
I'd help all of us if somebody's car falls in or somebody, I don't know. I mean, they've got that metal thing at night. It's not very well lit over there, you know, so sinkholes never get better. They always get worse. So I don't know. I always think, you know me, safety first.
Can I get some clarification? I apologize, but, so the parking lot, if I understood, you said, I believe Paula said, belongs to Kramer? But we're responsible for everything underneath the macadam?
Yes, because it's stormwater that goes underneath there.
And, okay. But he isn't sharing any responsibility in that. I just want to make sure I'm.
It's our pipe. Yeah, unfortunately, anything underneath the roads in boroughs, it's the borough's responsibility. And now, if we were in a township, it would be a whole different story.
I move that we call this Yardley Township then? No, just kidding.
Oh, do you want to merge?
No, I don't want to merge. I said Yardley Township. Listen.
I mean, I think it's the year of unsexy projects, guys. Like, we need to take care of our building and the
Very
mold
sexy.
situation and our pipes. And that's what we're going to be doing, so.
Yeah, but the split, getting us that information on the split is a good point, because replacing a pipe, I mean, it doesn't sound like there's a lot of engineering to replace a pipe. So maybe that, you know, most of that 88 is for the other project.
By piece by piece by piece.
We-
Pipe is really old. It wasn't put in, either wasn't put in right, or it just was too small, or it corroded. And all of that parking lot, one by one, those pipes collapse. And then you get-
I know, he has everything already.
No, I know, I'm just saying, like, this is an ongoing thing, you know, you fix this,
Yeah.
you're gonna have a next one coming too, so I think we can't get too behind on
So
that.
just trying to get some inputs for Don so that he knows what to put in. I'm hearing, and I just want to make sure that we all are in agreement. For the police roof, we're waiting on the grant. If we don't get it, we'll go with the low interest loan for municipalities, which I agree, I thought it was like 1.9 or 2%, and keep our money in savings. But 50% we'll need up front, right? Is that what I heard?
Yeah, but the estimate for the roof was 90-something thousand, right?
But that's not with prevailing wage.
Okay. And
Yeah,
with
we have-
prevailing wage, did you get a new
We have to go
number?
out to bid, but.
Yeah, we have to go out to bid and find contractors that will do prevailing wage. I got a lot of pushback from other contractors that said, we don't want to touch it if it's prevailing wage, unfortunately.
So hopefully though, if we're 90, hopefully with prevailing wage, maybe we could do the police roof and the mold for 150 together. That would be like great. So that's those. If mold,
So what we put into the budget, though, would just be the interest cost
right, yep.
that we
For
would expend next year, yeah.
tag, I think we need to get the donations, and then we go for just the drainage, we put just for the drainage, under the Kramer's lot.
Right.
And then the rest, we try to get the gap grants to cover engineering. I do agree that we need to start putting into capital reserves, giving everything else on here, and the potential, I don't know what it would look like if we shifted the millage down to, let's say we had to pay full for the drainage. What would that be millage wise? Like, we don't want to do a 6 mil increase in taxes, so let's
It would be
adjust.
1 mil more.
Well,
for
no,
the
because we're
ma-
taking out the 4.3, right?
Yeah, I'm not counting that, yeah. We're at 1.89 mils right
Okay.
now.
So then
if you
we
argue.
2.89, let's bring down, let's make it our goal to
1.89.
get to 50,000 a year for the capital reserves, but I don't know, like, do we want to do what would that be, another 2? Like, do we want to, 1.7 it would be, do we want to do a
I mean, that was-
4.5
that's-
mil
yeah,
increase in 1 year?
How much goes in our capital reserve now?
Each mill's about 6.7% tax increase
To the municipal taxes.
to the municipal.
Yeah,
Yeah, of course.
not to your
Not to the
tax bill.
person.
We currently do put 2 mills in our capital reserve.
Right, I know. We put
Yeah.
2 mils in there every year.
I know.
Yeah,
You make
every
it sound
year.
like that's not
Saying
enough.
it's-
70 grand a year is not enough.
Well, it was 2 mills, like 10 years ago, so what I'm saying is,
No, it's
I know,
not.
council, there was no money in.
oh, there was
Right.
no,
This
and
was
then
a-
it was
No money.
increased.
Right, because we started the emergency fund as well.
I agree with you that we could increase it, but I think, given all of this, 50K doesn't make sense to me this year, if we're already doing 70. Like, we could lower that, right?
We
We're
could
having a
lower it.
conversation.
Look, it's an arbitrary number. I think that's the right number, but I understand the situation. We're all in the same situation. So.
But you're saying you think it should be funded 120 every year, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Because I'm saying that is why we keep running into the situation that we don't have money for anything because the fund is too small.
You're gonna run out of mills pretty
I'm
soon.
not saying to spend it, I'm saying to put it in there. Because it's unrealistic to think that, here we are, like, looking at taking loans to do a roof. You know, it's unrealistic to think, who knows what's on the horizon that we haven't looked at. So if we just face it, that we need more in that fund, we'll have more to be able to pull from when these things happen. That's what I'm saying. Or for projects that we need a little extra to make the project work. If the fund is grown and it's nice and we feel like, okay, we've got enough to do a project that is of public benefit and not an emergency, wouldn't that be something? You know? But it's got to start somewhere. Otherwise, we're not being realistic with ourselves. And I understand the predicament, but we're kind of at that point where, I mean, there's mortar falling out of this building. You know, how did it get that way? It's because we don't feel like we can afford.
Neglect,
We never, it's because we didn't do it.
because of neglect and lack of maintenance.
Feel like we don't have.
But we need to revisit what we talked about before, is that in order to have more money to do these things, besides grants, we need to make sure that we have money coming in. And I think that if we raise the taxes a small amount every year, it's less painful than waiting a couple years and then everybody going like, oh, that's too much, you know? So I think if we can start to do that, a small amount, people will adjust to that.
I would like us to say, I think we should back into the number. I think we should get consensus to say, we want to, because there's more projects on here than available mills.
Right.
That way,
I
okay?
get that.
So let's agree on, last year we raised 2 mills, and that was incremental. That was 6.7%, right? So each 2 mills is about 7%. So if you go 4 mills, that's a 14% increase.
Are we capped at 8, I thought? Remind,
What's that?
is there a cap on the millage?
Yes, is it?
There is a cap
On the general fund, yeah.
Oh, okay, thank you.
So, I mean, so we have 1.89, just to keep the lights on.
That's
our
pretty
operating
much
budget.
exactly.
We can't touch that.
Right.
So, I mean, I think I'm comfortable with like 3.25, so that we could do a little more savings, we could do the drainage, we could do the roof and the mold with the low interest, but I think when we get up to 4, that's.
I mean, the problem here is that we had this, it wasn't great before, but then we had this inflation that hit us as high as it was for everything. It hit us on a whole other level because the cost of all these projects, it wasn't like 20, 30%. It's like 100% in some of these things. Some things are some of the pipes and those things have gone up by like over 100% from where they were before COVID. And then like insurance, and all this. So, but our increases, well, they've not been nothing. They're not even close to the amount. So that's why we're in the
We're
squeeze.
trailing behind. And just because
We've gotta catch
we
up
haven't
somehow.
talked about the big other presentation we had tonight, the police department, the CBA requests are in that 1.89, correct?
Yes, where we currently are, not their initial request, but where
Right.
where the current one we're at.
Yeah, because when
Is in
you
there.
look at this thing that we got earlier,
Yeah.
it's,
Well, their current request is much
Yeah.
higher than that.
yeah. But it-
We're still coming back from when they talked about the earned income tax, because we were so far behind, not raising the taxes for so many years.
10 years.
We're still coming back from that.
Exactly, that's exactly right, because what you're saying is very important, Michelle, because in those 10 years, it's not just that we didn't raise it, but we lost all the incremental revenue.
Right.
I disagree. I totally disagree with that statement.
Okay.
Because go look at the facts and go look at how much money came from Yardley Walk. Okay? Huge amounts of money came in both inspection fees and real estate transfer tax for all those units. Plus it sold twice and we got real estate transfer tax when one developer went in, another one came in. So the revenue, in my opinion, when I look back on it, you weren't in here with this big revenue deficit because you had all that extra revenue. And you spent it, and they spent it. Past council spent it. I'm not disagreeing with that. It was spent. But it's not like you went into deficit, you didn't have the revenue coming in and your spending went up.
Yeah, but as she was saying, as Caroline was saying.
And now we're built out, so we don't have those big
The reserves were
inputs.
zero.
The reserves were.
So there was money
Right.
taken, I remember that sidewalk fund. By the time the North Main Street sidewalk came around, there was hardly anything in the sidewalk. And then the price had skyrocketed.
Right.
So, I think it's old news, here we are. But we just have to have a longer view forward. And
We have to plan because there's not going to be another Yardley Walk.
right.
Like no one wants to develop the golf course and turn that into townhomes. I mean, I'm being extreme, but none of us want that.
On the radar.
It's not on the radar, by the way, for the record. But my point is, we don't have any available land that can be. Yardley Walk saved our asses. But now we've got to project for the next 10 years rather than leaving a future council with, oh, how did we get here?
But that's what was consciously done when there was a big tax increase. When was it? Help me, Carolyn, maybe 6 or 7 years ago. Remember when we first established these funds? When we did that big, when we did that big increase. I can't remember when it was.
Yeah, 6 years ago.
Yeah, I think so. So that was a conscious decision to try to do this because he saw that the revenue for build out for things like Yardley Walk was going to be tapering off. And so that additional 70K, 65 to 70K going into capital reserves and into the other funds too.
Right.
Everybody else gets.
So
We
I-
didn't have
I
these
a-
funds.
A thought that
We
might,
didn't have that.
that might help with revenue, and this is more of a solicitor question, but when we send out our municipal tax bill, could we send out something with that said, support the Yardley Borough Police if you would like, and to make a $100 donation to help support keeping our local police and paying them what they need to be paid? Would you be,
That's something I'd like to have an opportunity to research that. I think there's a couple problems with it that I would want to take a look at to see if that's something you could do. It just kind of crosses the line of is it voluntary or is this something that you're.
could be stated,
Yeah.
however it needs to be stated, but kind of like the gist of it being like, here's an opportunity to help your town, $100 per.
Yeah, I'd like to take a look at it to research it, but just off the top of my head, it just seems like something that should come in a separate mailing.
It's more common to see that for like nonprofit things.
Volunteer fire.
Yeah, like volunteer fire. Yeah.
Okay, so Don's looking for a number to back into. I gave mine. Anyone else have a number? Let's continue this onward.
What I'd like to say, just to also, because we know what mills are up here, but not everybody watching at home necessarily knows what a mill is. So I just did this math based on the number 4 mills, because you said you weren't comfortable going with 4 mills, but that was a round number, so I used it because it was easier than 3.25. So 4 mills is about 13.4%. So, and this is a 13.4% tax increase only on the borough portion of your property taxes. So on my property taxes, which are about $5,200, which, by the way, in the 6 years I've lived here, have only gone up a few $100 total in 6 years. The borough portion of my taxes is about $550. So a 13.4% increase on that is $73.70. So even the high number 4 mills, I'm not advocating for that. I'm just saying that if we did half of that, it comes out to about $36, $37 tax increase. More if you have a bigger house.
The average home in the borough is it?
Yeah, mine is below average. So.
Do you know, does anyone have that information, approximately the average?
What'd you say?
Municipal tax bill?
Sure, I have you can take it right out of the presentation from last year.
Okay.
How many meals do I have to go without to pay for this?
Yeah, you're up to,
Last year?
Yes.
you're up to a meal with,
Diet program?
Yeah, well, I lost 30 pounds, thank you.
He's going to be on a hunger strike soon if we keep
Yeah.
doing this.
Hunger strike for
So-
Yardley.
We'll get that number, but I'm not hearing.
It's a good point, because
Not hearing movement from folks on what their number is.
What is the number, just out of curiosity? Don would probably have this. What is the number that we max out with the mills and we can't go any higher? Because I
For
think
our total, it's like this weird calculation that we've looked at it in the code. It's not super clear, right?
It's something I'd have to take a look at to give you the number, but I can show you.
They don't say like this is the cap.
Okay.
A lot of different.
it's like a mystery. Okay. But like the 6.74 that's in there, if we did everything, would that put us over the cap? Okay.
guarantee you. I think 4 will put you pretty close. The average assessed home value was 27,198 last year. This is 1 year old average.
Sure,
so
sure.
Might have moved a little bit. So the average borough portion of the tax bill is $872. That's the average residential. That's what we used in our presentation last year.
That brings the average up
So
from 7.
last year's increase, which was 2 mills, was $54, $54.40 to the average person, right? So.
Right, okay.
$100, call it $100.
Let's calculate the amount we're talking about.
If
how
you
much
went to
that
4.
is.
What?
$100?
I think probably, yeah.
Okay.
I have the exact. So the average number would be 116.85. Would be 4 mills.
85.
Yep.
I think it's easier to work also, like, for the public's sake, to understand it when you put it in those terms.
Right.
Yeah, because you hear these numbers, and I mean, you hear numbers like $415,000, $100,000, and it's like, whoa, that's more than I paid for my house. But then when you look at it as, okay, we're talking about anywhere from $80 to $120 is what we're playing around with. So that's kind of the numbers that we're debating in the tax increase. It's not a huge, massive range.
Certainly, there are people in different situations.
Sure.
I've heard from people going door to door that are like, don't raise my taxes, so I understand that side, and I also understand, $100 is not, we've been squeezed in every direction in the last few years, so.
Yeah.
This is a little piece
But
of.
what's the alternative, right? I mean, we're so close, razor thin, and if we had one major problem in this town, we're done. So I can't do anything but support funding this, because we can't afford not to be able to be solvent.
So 365 would include a little bit of an increase to our capital reserves. I just feel like going all the way to like our cap does not seem responsible to me. And I think we need to be intentional about what 2026 looks like. It's going to be the year that we take care of things that we have been putting off for too long. Let's focus on those things. If we get grants to do our passion projects as well, awesome. But we're going to get the roof done, the drainage done, the mold remediated. I think that's what that looks like.
I would concur with
I
that.
think I mean, I don't know how much it costs to paint the windows where the paint is peeling off on the outside, but like,
Did get a quote to replace all these windows up here because a
No,
lot of them
no-
are rotten. And then downstairs is repainting. But that's
Okay.
something, like I said, I'm working on an LSA grant that
okay.
hopefully we're going to have the funds to submit it. And that will hopefully take care of the building, because like I keep saying, I understand a lot of these projects are very important, but we have to take care of our borough hall, our home.
Yeah,
We
that's my-
invite
that's-
people to come to our town to look at it, and it's getting a little embarrassing when you look outside, some of the soffits are falling out and stuff, so we need to look at this building as well.
Well, yeah, my point, Paula, is just that, we have peeling paint and mortar and stuff that may not even be that expensive to fix, but if you don't fix it, then it rots out.
Absolutely, yeah.
These windows, though, I would strongly advocate to speaking to HARB if you need resources to talk to people who can keep these windows, because replacing windows in a historic building is in a historic district is a very bad idea generally. And there are experts who can make these windows.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very expensive.
You have a historic building and a historic.
I know, I'm just saying, it's not an easy task.
Yeah.
And it's-
But be careful of being sold the idea that they have to be new Anderson windows or whatever, because.
No, they're not. They're all wood windows that would
Yeah.
be replaced with. Yeah. And everything is custom because of the sizes. And they even looked at doors and everything, and it's pretty costly.
But I would bring people who specialize in restoring, because there are like I happen to know about it because I did some of it. There are some materials that can fix various types of epoxies that can fix that kind of rot, depending on where it is. It's worth looking into. And we should do that. We should, if it's like a few thousand more, that should be part of this roof thing. That's the main point of what I'm saying, is it shouldn't be like the paint is 2 more years, and then, we have like twice as many rotted windows because we didn't paint them or we didn't put the mortar in.
Turn the air conditioner down.
Yeah, turn that down. It'll save us 25 cents tonight.
Come on.
All right.
I-
Any other comments?
I would just concur with what other people have said, that I think the police roof, the mold remediation are absolute non-negotiables. I would be in favor of the additional to capital reserves just because we've mentioned things, even tonight, that are coming down the pipeline. Like there's a sinkhole on Brown Street. We don't know what's going on there. There is the potential, this came up earlier this year, they're doing the exploratory right now. It's probably going to come to council in 2026, and the budget may need to be reopened, but when paid fire and EMS comes. And so just because it's a capital reserve, that doesn't mean it necessarily has to be for an infrastructure project. That could be for anything that we need, but there's so many. I mean, some of these other things that are the huge numbers, we can wait on those to see if we get grants. We can get grants to go for them. I don't think we need to put them in the budget, but to me, the roof and the mold remediation are non-negotiables because a year ago we said we were going to do that.
What's good about capital reserves is it requires an active council to move it out, as opposed to general fund where it's just sitting there.
So that's
what I think is important. We talk about part of the increase being that it's not as simple as just gets thrown in the mix.
So I told one of my neighbors this afternoon. What I don't like doing is, hi, we're the government. We'd like to raise your taxes because the government needs more money. I don't like that. If I'm going to have to vote to raise taxes, what I would prefer is, hey, we're putting this money toward this project, or we're putting this money toward this fund, that there's transparency, and even transparency to the point of we see how everybody voted, and you can vote against that person if you feel so inclined to. And to me, I think that creates more accountability, and I do like that aspect of it.
Yep. All right. Any other comments?
What about messaging software? I say defer.
What was that, Don? I couldn't hear you down here.
Messaging software that was requested to be in the budget. I didn't put it in yet.
No.
I mean,
Great job on the email blasts recently, by the way. It makes
Yeah,
a
I
big
know,
difference.
Yeah, let's use that. I know.
Just using that. I think that we will do messaging in the future, but I think
It's a wish
where we
list.
do at that price, I think it's.
Oh, it's $5,000 compared to 150, wow.
True, it's a small amount.
And it's an ongoing incremental.
Can you just send by email tomorrow what it would look like if you pulled that millage out? So we're talking about 2.89 for the top items, and then, so we would have like a 0.4 for additional capital reserve. So what would that look like if we pulled the 5 from that? I don't know, is it like .0?
Say that again, 2.89 for the top items.
No, it's
So
1 point,
base impact.
1.89 for the,
1.89.
1.89 plus the additional 1 that we talked about for drainage, right? Isn't that what you said?
the one for the drainage, the grant
So
map.
that's 2.89, and if we get to 3.25, we're talking about like a .4 that we would be doing for capital reserve. So what would it be if we pulled from that .4 mils to go up to the messaging app? But I don't know. I feel like, I wasn't here for the messaging software. I watched it. I feel like ramping up our email blasts could be.
I think it would be really.
I recommend that we don't move forward at this time for texting because we can always do that later. It's not an
I
emergency.
think what we should do is on the drainage line item, create 2 line items there
Yep.
for university and for Kramer lot, okay? And assume the Kramer lot money, we will do it when it comes in, assuming we get the base grant.
Yeah.
And then the incremental engineering hopefully will be small on that side. Maybe we can do it for the normal 10%.
Right. Right.
So whatever that number is, we translate that into mils.
Yep.
And then what's left will be a additional capital reserve
Yep.
target.
And defer the university
And-
drainage to 27.
Right, yeah, yeah. Because we want to
The
go
only-
back to the well to get the additional, primarily to get the additional engineering.
The only
shot
thing
at it.
to consider with that is that if the LSA does not come back in time, because they're very kind of arbitrary. You feel confident about November, or do you think it'll be,
No, I mean,
it could be January, right? So then-
we did reach out and, they were going to have, a meeting in September, but that didn't happen. And then looked on their website, they didn't even have a meeting.
Okay.
In October. It's really, state budget related as well. So,
Right.
it's all rolling up. But right now, we know there is a meeting in November.
Right. So what I think we should do is pretend we're going to get it and put that in reserves, put that amount as a reserve amount. Or I guess we just put it wherever, but I think we should pretend we're going to get it. We don't know if we're going to get
For
it.
that one.
Yeah, if we don't get it, then transfer it forward to the following. If it doesn't come in time, hang on to it, and we'll see if we get it. We can figure out what to do if we don't get it, and we've allocated for it, but we should allocate it for it. My point is, don't wait to decide if you allocate it for it. Assume you're going to get it.
Right.
Worst case scenario, you have more in the reserves.
And then we have to decide during the year whether or not we actually tap into it, because we can't wait for another cycle, which is a possibility.
Right.
Depending on the severity.
Right.
Or we might say, take a little bit from the emergency fund, do partial or something. Okay, I understand the marching orders. And on the other stuff, we'll set up the normal timeframe where you all can sit with me if you want to go through any one of the line items. I know the first 2 pages, it's glassy-eyed stuff, but there's lots of pieces that roll into it. But if anybody wants to see exactly what's in there, I think it's reasonable what's in there. And obviously, getting CVA done is a priority too, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and that's a huge win. Let's not look over that to, get closer to where we need to be.
Okay.
Did we decide we were going to defer the messaging software? Because I would be in favor of that as well, and I think we have the majority of us that are in
We're doing a
favor.
lot. We're trying to.
There's too much other stuff going on.
Email blast, and let's just focus on that, yeah.
I'll remind you on that there's other paths that are cheaper that are
Right.
the same
Correct.
underlying technology without the,
I just think there's so much other stuff going on. I think it would be a great thing to have, but there's other things that are critical emergencies, and it just doesn't seem responsible for me to be like, here's this new thing, even though it's a relatively small expense, when we have other things that have been emergencies for a year.
And the communication is improving now with the email. So there's improvement with what the tools we already have. So that's a step. So next time we take the
Do you
next.
want to leave tag in as a planned expenditure and just bank on
Donations,
funding
yeah.
coming?
Well, I do have a question on that, sorry, about TAG.
Yeah.
Do we haven't seen, I hate to say it, but I haven't seen a need for it this year. Not this year, but I mean, going into next year. There are a couple things that I'm going to ask to be remediated before it runs out. But what would you think about just dropping
This
it?
year's.
Sorry?
We haven't funded 2025 either,
I understand that, but I'm saying to alleviate an additional, was it $1,500, I believe?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to get people to donate for something that we don't feel is necessary. I feel kind of bad if we have a big issue, then, going back to them and saying, we want you back again.
Now we want to join.
Yeah.
We wanna join.
Well,
It's like going to your car insurance after you've had an accident.
I mean, yeah.
That, how is
lower my
that,
deductible.
is that price the same for like?
No, townships are $5,000, boroughs pay $1,500. So it's actually a bargain.
Right.
And there are things that they do above and beyond just removing graffiti.
And where was I thought we did have it funded privately for the
Last year.
first.
Year before we did,
And
yeah.
is that source available again, or is that like a one-time?
I'd like to explore, without getting into personal stuff, because I haven't had the time in the last 2 months to kind of focus on that, but now I do. So I want to explore the people. I want to talk to the people that have been directly affected and convince them to fund it. So give me a little bit more time. I apologize, but it's just the last couple of months have been a little bit difficult.
Right. I think I understand my marching orders. So,
Great, thank you so much, Councilperson Carlson and Patty and Paula. Good work as always. All right, we got more to do tonight, though. Engineers report.
What?
Thank you. We've issued our engineer's report. Are there any questions?
Are you,
Thank you.
you're going to cover the sidewalk separately?
We'll just move on to the next item, is just to give you an update regarding North Main Street Phase 3 sidewalk. What we did hear about is PECO did obtain their PennDOT HOP permit for relocating the gas, and they've also provided a preliminary schedule that's included in your packet, and that's the one that's just the email from me. What it looks like is their preliminary scheduled to start on October 15th, and it should bring them to be complete by November 9th. And from what they laid out here is they're going to install the new mains, and then they're going to bring that into service, and then they're going to transfer over the customers as well. So it looks like in that yellowish shade is what their schedule is. Then I reached out to our.
on that one, will this work just have flagmen, the road will remain open? Just
Yeah, this is
one
gonna
lane closed kind of thing?
They're gonna have the one lane closed as we it's really only affecting the northbound lane as well, our same side.
On the northbound side, right, of course, obviously, yeah. Okay.
And as they're just moving it a little bit over into the travel path, because right now it's located along the curb line where we're trying to put our storm sewer in. And then secondly, I did reach out to our contractor, as they were involved in our meeting. Manager Johnson and myself attended with PECO. And so I asked them to just quickly put together a schedule. This is like a best case scenario, them starting on the 10th, the day after PECO's done, as well as we get approval for winter paving by PennDOT, and we have temperatures over 40, so we could pave as well. Our contract is a 90-day contract. If 90 days from November 10th takes you into February 7th would be 90 days. But, what we've done in the past and what we've talked about earlier, in previous meetings is we'll try to get as much work done as possible. And then in the spring, we could come back and mill and overlay that. But we need to, start working on gathering that now that we do have a definitive from PECO.
So it's really good news. And because we finally have solid dates, we had to get the permit and get PECO and all that. So, and most of this project would actually get done, as long as you don't have like an early freeze, most of this project would actually be done before the core part of winter. So it would be usable. And I guess you and I spoke on the phone, but the crosswalks, they would get painted in after the final surfacing of the road. So that's going to be like the last part, like it was in phase 2. And I want to thank you and Paula for the excellent email that went out to those residents with the revised timeline. It's just a great example of how communication should go for a project like this.
And all of our permits and expiration dates and contract dates and all that stuff are okay, right? Oh, we've been sitting here, okay.
So, question,
Did we apply for it?
just to give some clarity for any of the public who might be watching. So we're basically looking at a schedule for the sidewalk construction tentatively of November 10th through December 30th. Now, obviously, that's dependent on weather. Now, typically by the 1st of November, we do dip below freezing overnight. As long as we're above freezing during the day, we can still work, or?
The temperature needs to be 40 degrees and rising, so there's specific temperatures for PennDOT for that. So this is a PennDOT, PennDOT permit, a PennDOT road. So, we would be, we're working on submitting a request to PennDOT. I'm first waiting to hear from the contractor to provide us with the documentation, and then I'll work with Manager Johnson to get the request for cold weather paving in. There's a request to go after, in the late fall. There is also a request to do early spring paving too. So, because usually what happens is the plants close down and they start doing maintenance on those plants. So it's the matter of which one's closed down, which one's not, what's available too, so.
But if you remember in phase 2, we did this exact scenario.
We did this thing.
Where we didn't do the milling. But the road was still pretty good. I mean, it wasn't like under construction all winter.
So there could be, just to set the reasonable expectations, there could be a possibility that we also get the project partially done and then finish as the weather gets warmer.
It's very weather dependent.
Yep.
I think we're starting a little earlier, around the same time as we did for the phase 2. Do you remember?
I don't remember it after.
Phase 2, we had issues along the way that we don't anticipate. That we took measures this time to preemptively have this go smoother.
40 degrees, is that for paving or is that for all work? Like concrete work on the sidewalk, does that affect?
No, there's measures for cold weather.
Sure.
Concrete. The 40 degrees is for the pavement.
Okay, got it.
And the asphalt plant's being open.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
For the pavement of the concrete or for the asphalt?
The asphalt.
The asphalt.
The asphalt.
Right.
Yeah.
The roadway.
Quick question, it's related, unrelated. Recently, they were doing work on West Main. I'm sorry, I meant North Main. Have we resolved that issue with the communication with the people that put up the signage for detours and stuff? Is it going to be, it's not the same company, so.
No.
But
No, that was a sewer authority project, so we weren't involved with that at all.
It's not the same contractors.
Don will take care of that when he takes over the sewer
I'll take
authority.
care of it,
Yeah.
good. It was just a huge concern, and so I'd be remiss not to bring it up. But, Jared, did you?
You need your microphone again.
Don, do you know if that project is,
In the budget.
do you know if that project is done? Okay, because my understanding was that finished on September 29th. It's now October 7th. Do they have a timeline of when? I know the contractor seems very committed to bashing me on Facebook anytime I post about this, and I wish he was as committed to picking up his signs
They
as
have
he is
their
to
final-
bashing me.
Yeah, their final payment is on the bills list for the sewer authority's meeting tomorrow night, and
Okay.
they will not get their check until those signs are gone.
Wonderful.
There are a few signs in Upper Mayfield. I noticed them driving.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. And then in the future, I would love for us to hire companies that treat our elected officials with respect, because their customer service was absolutely deplorable.
You're asking for a lot.
I don't know where he is. The head of the company said he was going to come here tonight to have a word with me in person because I dared to ask when the signs were going to be removed. Anyway.
But can we change it to West Main?
Anyway. That's all I have to say, but I don't want to get into it too much, but
Engineer's report.
That concludes my report.
Okay, thank you so much. Solicitor's report.
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. So I just have one item before you. That's to vote to advertise the special event ordinance. When this was previously before you, we held off on advertising in order for it to go to the Bucks County Planning Commission and the Borough Planning Commission. We received their comments back in August and September. As a result of receiving those comments, we made a few minor changes, but nothing substantial. There's exceptions to actually having to obtain a special event permit for private residential family or social gatherings. The Borough Planning Commission asked that we add weddings and receptions. There's also an exception for private residential commercial activities such as garage sales. They asked that we add the word yard. Also, we tweaked the insurance language just so it lines up with the actual special event permit that we've been using. And then the final thing is the Borough Planning Commission stated that the trigger, which is currently 50 people expected at the property, they thought that was too high, said that nuisances could happen at a lower number. They didn't provide a number that they thought was sufficient, so I'm just looking for feedback on what to change that number to. Otherwise, we would go forward, advertise this, and then come back in front of you for enactment.
So 50 is the number, they said it was too high for when it's at people's houses?
So in order to obtain a special event permit, it would be if you expected or anticipated that there would be 50 or more people, they wanted to lower that number down below 50. 50 is what you typically see in other municipal ordinances. I looked around, but I did want to bring that comment to your attention.
I don't have strong feelings on that point, but.
I think it's ridiculous, to be perfectly honest, to lower it below 50. I think that's absolutely ridiculous.
All right, so it sounds like the consensus is to leave it at 50. And this will be before you again. Once we advertise it, it'll come before you for enactment so you can take a look at it. But that concludes my report.
And if we decided to change that number, we wouldn't have to re-advertise. That's the only thing we changed, right?
If you went lower, it should be okay. I don't anticipate you going higher. If it went significantly, lower, it might arguably be a substantial change, but I think you're okay if it's staying within that realm.
Okay.
All right, we'll discuss, but do I hear a motion to approve the special event ordinance?
Moved.
Second. Motion was made by Councilperson Scherer, seconded by Councilperson Siegel-Morris. Discussion.
I got something.
Sure.
Okay, so I'm going to be the voice of dissent. I want to say I appreciate the work that's been done on it. I don't like to just kind of negate work that's been done for a good cause, and I think that everybody involved in this is trying to do something positive. Where I'm stuck on this one is it's kind of like a litmus test. What problem does it solve, and what is the public benefit? The best I've gotten for the problem it solves is that it adds teeth to something that really hasn't been a problem, people having large events without getting permission from us. And in the past, I've said this is a solution looking for a problem. And I'm going to change that because I don't think that's actually what it is. I think it's more like putting the cart before the horse. And the reason is because I think there is an issue here, but it's a different issue than an ordinance solves. I think that the issue is that we have these events that happen here, like Harvest Day, and Halloween, the Farmers Market, and many other beautiful events. And first of all, we should be honored. I'm honored that we live in a town where people want to have these events here. And those events are important because they bring people into town. They add aliveness to our town. They allow the independent businesses we have to operate because more people coming in, they're coming in that day, but it's also on the radar for them, and they come back to Yardley and they enjoy our town, and that makes it possible to have this beautiful town. And we've had pretty good economic times, but eventually a recession's going to come back, and we could have empty storefronts here, and that's really unpleasant. So the value of these events, I think that council and the borough needs to take some ownership in the value of the events. And why that's important is because I hear stories about pressure that's placed on event organizers from the view of public safety, which is extremely important, to move the farmers, move the music on Main to music off Main, or move Harvest Day from here to here because the bridge is going to be under construction, but then it's not under construction, well, it's still safer to move it. Or reconfigure the farmer's market. And I don't think that those conversations, by the time they come here, we're voting to approve, but we're not really part of that conversation, and I'm not sure that that conversation or those conversations that are being had with the events, people bringing the events here, are reflecting a holistic view of what are the goals of council. Okay, public safety, impact on residents, those are the obvious ones. But what about the positive side of
Community and economic development.
community economic development and how that impacts our community? All of that needs to be looked at rather than sort of a unilateral, it's not safe, that's out, because by the time we hear about it on council, all that's already been done and we have had no say in it. And so I think we have a process issue. And adding a layer of code on top of a process issue isn't the solution. I think the solution right now is to look at this more deeply, understand the process, bring the stakeholders, bring council people, bring bring public safety, bring community economic development, bring the people who put on Harvest Day, bring the farmers market people, bring the Canal Halloween people, bring all the people, have some conversations here, work out a new process that makes sense for the whole community. Then try that process out. Once you agree on something and council can approve it, try it out, run that for a while, see how that's working. And then when you're done with that, if you want to codify it, you'll have your numbers, 50 good.
It's premature.
25 good. It's premature to codify it now. But I'm not saying it should never be done. I'm just saying that we're working on the rule, but we don't have the process.
There's so many stakeholders where
I think we need to go into the root of the problem. So my proposal is to do as I explained and to table this for now, do a deeper process here to dig deeper into this, not to just forget it, but to dig deeper and get a better process going, and then come back to it and pick it up where we left off. So
I completely disagree.
that's okay. So I'm going to make a motion to table it, just so that it's official, and then we can talk about that. Is that okay? I can make a motion to table it during.
Yeah, we have a motion.
Oh, okay. Okay, you're right. I forgot.
Yeah, so the initial motion on the table is to approve it. He now wants to modify that motion by making a motion to table it. So then the question becomes, does he have a second?
Yes, second.
Okay, and now we'll vote on that amended motion.
Okay. I'm happy to speak on this. I think you make really valid points, Councilperson Finer. I think that we want to encourage special events. We want to support our event makers and make sure they feel heard, and those process things I don't see as intermingled with this event ordinance. I know that the phrase has been used that we need more teeth, but in reading this ordinance and in hearing the presentations around it over the last, what was the actual start date? I corrected the record, now I can't remember, but it's been a while. We've been talking about it a while. It isn't about control, and I actually sent this to an event maker, my thoughts on this, so I'll read a little bit, but I think it is about coordination. I feel like the rules are going to help us host events safely, fairly, and more consistently, and no one's left with the bill or left with the blame if something goes wrong. As the draft ordinance says, it's our duty under Pennsylvania law and planning code to protect public health, safety, and welfare. And I think that this ordinance operationalizes those mandates that we have as a town. We're not stopping any events. We're trying to be better organized. We're ensuring we have the best chance at being successful in coordinating with the police, road closures, and signage. This was not a code enforcement push ordinance alone. It came from the police department as well. They both thought that it was necessary. I wish we could ask Chief Golden his thoughts now on it, but it was a two-pronged request that we look at this. Built into this law, the chief of police meets with the organizers to design safe, workable plans, and not to say no. It's fair, everyone, nonprofits, private promoters, residents, all under the same rules, share costs proportionately. We're avoiding last-minute surprises. 60 to 188 days is enough time to ensure we are not operating under last-minute pressures. Time and time again, I'm at this table, and I know there is a lot that happens before it gets to this table, but we're rushing things, and something is going to happen one of these days because we're rushing things. And we're not, at the end of the day, we're not changing much. Much of this ordinance is already unspoken process, which I don't think anyone up here likes. I know what I've heard from many of you. You don't like unspoken process. I'm a big believer in clarity and having documentation for things. I do understand that organizers could be worried about unpredictable charges for police or cleanup, but the argument becomes we shouldn't foot that bill, right? And to defray those costs, a single permit can cover a series of events, making it easier for recurring community programs. There's waivers built in for applicants with limited financial resources. Fees are never permitted to exceed our costs. We are not grabbing money here. We are not making money here. Fees are never allowed to exceed what the borough is spending. And in fact, they don't come close to what we're spending. So there is borough ownership in events still. I understand that organizers of recurring events may be frustrated about repeating the process over and over again, but as we can see with events, they can change from year to year, and we do need to look at them from year to year because maybe change is good. Waiting for approval can also be stressful for an event maker because they want to know that they have the date, but it's also stressful for us to be approached 2 weeks before something and not have the time to coordinate. So that's why I support the ordinance. I also support having a larger look at our process on our special events, getting the right people into the conversation, making sure that we're treating everyone fairly. I think that this actually goes hand in hand.
So wouldn't it be better, Madam President, if we delay this just a short while so we can get those people in to discuss it? Because if we make this decision tonight, then we're basically not entertaining those people's opinions.
None of this ordinance touches on any of the issues that Corey brought up.
Well, it does.
I disagree.
It's codifying all the rules that, it's codifying specific issues that are then going to be part of the ordinance.
For example,
Well,
What's it
50 people
codifying?
is, 50 people is a great example.
so that's not something that people have approached us about being an
There's the
issue. What I
time.
hear is not being invited into the conversation when we're moving an event or people are being told no about things, but the number of people or a fee, like that's
You
not.
you could wind up with a lot of parameters that are different after that process than what you have in front of you. Like the timeline, we were talking about you want to mention that?
Yeah, so I don't have a problem with the 60 days. I think people should submit things within 60 days, especially since if we have to approve it at a council meeting, that's twice a month, once a month in the summer. My issue is actually with the 180 days. I think for large-scale events, for example, I was reached out to this past week by the organizer of Harvest Day, who couldn't be here tonight, and he asked me if I could ask council, which I will be doing later, to secure the date for 2026. If this new ordinance were to pass, we can't do that till March.
No, we've, like I said, this doesn't change anything. We have always been saying, thumbs up, sounds good on the date, and we don't vote on it until next year.
Yeah, the application wouldn't have to come in a year.
What if there was a new event from something? So if you have 6 months out that you can do an application, it takes a month to get it approved. That's 5 months before your event. So Harvest Day we know because it's existed for over 70 years. But what if there was a new event that they need to know that they have the date locked in before 5 months out?
Wes is able to do a calendar check and say the event is free and say you can apply for a permit 5 months before. That's what we do currently. Like I have been saying, this does not change anything. It makes it clear for the public, written down. And so that if they have an issue, it can say, hey, here's your law. Your people aren't following it. I think it actually
Right.
protects people.
But then why does it say that you can apply for a permit between 60 and
Right.
180 days, but then if somebody wants to do it beyond 180 days,
They wouldn't be getting a permit. They would be reserving a date. They would be checking with, which we currently do. Wes checks his calendar. And
Okay.
says it's open, like we do with Harvest Day every year. But we can't promise we're going to approve the permit. But I can't think of any permits that we've declined except for the conflicting.
See, that's the thing. If we pass this ordinance and somebody wants to get a permit for an event, let's say 7 or 8 months in advance, we could tell them yes, they could start planning, they could spend money, they could take registration fees, and then it could get denied at council if 4 council people decide to vote against
That's
it.
already how it is. That's what I'm saying.
We vote on these all the time.
I think the ordinance is important because safety really, really is important. And, shut up, please.
Excuse me? What did you say?
Sorry.
She said shut up to me? I don't really accept that.
I'm sorry.
It's kind of rude.
I am sorry.
Okay, but she's speaking.
Well, that's rude. I'm sorry. I'm allowed to say that that's rude.
So he's interrupting her.
Well, she told me to shut up, Kim.
You interrupted her.
I didn't try to interrupt her. Now,
She's sorry and you can't hear her because you're yelling, okay?
Everybody talk in order.
well, let's just be clear about what just happened.
No, we are a very litigious society. So to have this ordinance, it's a better safe than sorry thing because, and all of the businesses are working really hard and it's okay, but they're working harder to bring in more people and more people to everything that they have. So this is going to save us to have an ordinance and so to have a policy to, this is how we do things here.
We have a policy, so this goes back to my public benefit question. What is the public benefit? We have a policy. What does this do for us? Why are we spending time and energy? And I'm not against, just to be clear, I'm not against an ordinance if it's necessary and if it's helpful. After we've gone through a process that looks at all sides, 'cause I think we've only really looked at one side, and I'd like to have those people here who do the main events cheering us on, like, yes, this is the ordinance that makes sense in partnership with us. We created something that's going to work for everyone. Because all I see is us here. I don't see any of them. And those people work all year to create these events. So I'm just saying, let's broaden this a little bit and let's really do a comprehensive job. I'm not saying don't do it. But right now, I don't see if we pass this tonight, in what way are we safer?
And just a point of clarity,
No one's been able to explain it to me.
you're not passing the ordinance tonight. This
Well, I
is
mean,
just authorizing me to
advertise.
advertise. Yeah.
But advertising costs money, and then we're spending the money. So we're spending the money for something that we could very well and likely,
Yeah.
we do have a look. It seems like there's consensus to have a look, which is great. Very likely, well, maybe it'll be bigger. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just trying to be clear, just if anybody's watching, that there would be an opportunity for the public to come out and
I understand that,
voice
but
their
if
opinion.
we've advertised this whole thing, we've spent the money on it, it's kind of an investment in what we already have written down. And you see by the budget that the few $1,000s it costs us to advertise this is not like nothing. That's like the difference between a text service and not having a text service. So it's,
But
The
at
money
the
matters.
last time we talked about this, we asked for actionable feedback for the people who are drafting the ordinance. And if your actionable feedback was, I want the event makers to be here to discuss it, you knew it was on the agenda, right? Did you invite them?
my feedback right now, having gone through this process with you all, I've been not hiding my views. I've been very upfront in how I feel about it. My feedback is that the process is flawed, but sticking a layer of ordinance on top of a flawed process, it's flawed because what's happening when we're not involved is not reflecting necessarily what the community wants and what council wants. There are multiple council people here that don't feel that the events process, the way it's operating right now, is reflecting holistically the views of council. And that's a problem. So then adding a layer of ordinance that we have to pay for and potentially change just kind of creates a house of cards with a layer on top. So all I'm saying is cart before the horse, pull it back, and let's really fix that process. And then we can, if the process needs an ordinance, fine, we can have an ordinance. But right now I see like a borough-driven ordinance, and I don't see a community side to it. Like when we did the B&B or the short-term leasing thing, we had a lot of short-term rental, sorry. We had a lot more of that, and
We decided to table it. after we received that feedback.
No, we voted on the ordinance.
Like, we took it off the table. We didn't even, we voted it down.
You're talking about
The short-term rental, one,
residential.
we voted down the part of it that was to
Residential
expand
part.
it to the whole borough. Like,
Right.
No, that's not true.
No, we
never
mod-
voted
we
it
never
down.
voted for
I
it.
just got,
We took
key
it out, is what you
stakeholders
mean.
came in.
Yeah.
And we talked about it, and through the process of talking
We
about it.
went
as a
through a
group,
process, and we took-
never put that on, we never
But that's
put-
what I'm saying. I'm saying we took it off the table.
You mean we took it off the table, we didn't like officially table it like this motion, but yes.
So I don't think we're all going to agree, and that's okay. I do not see changing the process of events and permitting events as completely intermixed. I just don't. Sure. I don't see voting on this ordinance as a barrier to fixing issues within our event process. Nor do I see anything that we're codifying in this event permit as unwelcoming or crossing into the boundaries of anything that you brought up. So I do not support tabling it, but we can take a vote. Is there any other comments?
But if we agree that we should look at the events process, which sounds like there's enough of agreement here to do that. That's the sense I'm getting. Okay, if we agree to do that, if we don't pass this tonight, if we table it tonight and revisit that once we've gone through a process of a deep dive into our events process, what do we lose? What's the harm? There's
That's
no,
your opinion. That's your opinion.
but could you tell me what is,
I think it's
what
a good
happens
ordinance,
if
and
we
I think
don't?
it's necessary, and I don't see it as conflicting. And
why is
I
it
don't-
necessary?
Because, as I've said, I think that we need more time for our police department and our code enforcement department, our events coordinator, to review plans and not to have things come to us 2 weeks before without the proper protocols in place. I think I agree with the time frame. There are waivers for everything in place if people need them. There are always exceptions built into ordinances, and I don't see this ordinance as standing in the way of any of the issues you brought up. I don't know how else to say it, and I respect your opinion, and I think we should look at that stuff.
We're all entitled to an opinion, and we should just have a vote on it.
Well, and just a point of process, you do have to allow the public as well an opportunity.
Absolutely.
Well, that would be fine.
I have a question about the ordinance itself, because I know we talked about this earlier in the year, and I've been trying to find it in the ordinance, and I'm not great at reading legalese. So at one point, there was conversation that this ordinance would cover events of more than 50 people, whether they're on public or private property. Does it still cover, this version that we have tonight, cover events on private property as well?
So listed within the exceptions, just to be clear, is one of the exceptions are events that are sponsored by the borough or for which a permit has been issued under another section of the Yardley Borough Code of Ordinances. So otherwise, all events would apply if they were over the 50 threshold.
Okay, so I guess my concern is, at what point are we being the big hand of government into people having more than 50 people on their private property? And it really concerns me that there
Well,
was
and that's
people wanting to take that number
Special
down.
events shall not include private, residential, family, or social
Right.
gatherings, such as
And-
weddings,
Oh, so it doesn't
receptions,
include-
graduation,
okay.
birthday parties.
And that was my second point. There are those exceptions that are built in. If it's non-commercial, there's not a payment being received.
Got it.
It's
I
just an
didn't
event at your house.
understand your.
Yeah, maybe I misunderstood your question initially.
Okay, thank you.
May I?
Yep.
I think that, I think that Ori's being unfairly painted as not being supportive, but in fact, he's actually being extremely supportive and conscientious about this process of including others, and I certainly support, tabling this until we can bring in some more stakeholders. What's the rush? We can wait another couple weeks, or, how is that a problem? I mean, we support, as, community and economic development, I think it's important to look at this, as he said, holistically, and, to paint it like he's working against this is unfair, because you're not, are you?
I'm fine with an ordinance. I
Right,
only hear
exactly.
one side of it, and I only hear public safety. I don't
Right,
hear anything
exactly my
about
point.
the other aspects of the
So
event.
if we put this off for, just a short time more, just to make sure that we hear from everybody, just like we did with the short-term rental, let's invite them in.
So I'm looking for it. I forget, I think it was like December or November of last year that we started talking about this. At some point, we're wasting everyone's time, money.
What money?
We've drafted an ordinance.
The ordinance is probably still
We
good.
voted to send it, we voted, I'm speaking.
Yeah, but I didn't finish.
Oh, yes, you did. I'm responding to you. We drafted this ordinance, we sent it to the Planning Commission, Bucks Planning Commission. We can definitely vote it down tonight if 4 people or 5 people or 6 people want to vote against it, but we have given it time. You all knew it was on the agenda tonight. You could have invited anyone you wanted. You could have invited any of you wanted. Last time it was on the agenda, and the time before that, and the time before that. I think this is the 6th time it's been on the agenda, so let's make a decision. It's not a rush, and we haven't rushed it. I think we've given due process. I think it's a good ordinance, and it's okay if you think it's not a good ordinance. That's okay.
That's not what Ori and I are saying. We're not saying.
I
it's
think
not
there's
a good
another
ordinance.
issue here, that there is a problem that's completely unaddressed by this, which is, in my view, the main problem, which is that our events are being shifted around without conversation from council in a unilateral way.
Exactly.
And it's not reflecting the goals of council or the borough. And that is not, it's not with bad intention. So please don't, I see the look you're giving me. I don't mean you're doing something negative. I think that you're trying to protect the public safety, but you haven't been given clear direction by council. What are the goals? What's supposed to happen here? What do you have leeway to do, and what?
Council is on the same committee that he's on.
Yeah, but I haven't been part of that. And he, who is community development and economics.
Maybe.
Community development and economics is an important part of this borough. If you want businesses open downtown and you want an active community, that's an important part of this borough. He has not been called into those conversations. The whole process needs to be looked at. Okay? That's missing.
That's your opinion.
That's my opinion. That might not be your opinion, and that's fine. This is an ordinance that layers on top of a process that is in need of revision and review. Okay? That's my opinion.
Yeah, that's great.
And that's why I don't think we should do anything until we do, and I'm all for doing the revision and review, and I'm all for being efficient about it, but it's not cooked.
I think you should amend your amendment to have some sort of time frame on that. Because the
I'd be willing
kind of
to do
review you
that.
want to do is very holistic, and it's very nice to say, and it's all, but who's going to do that? Who's going to lead that? Are you volunteering to lead that? Is economic development going to lead it? Somebody's got to lead that, get the people here, and get that all done in the next month or so. Then I'd be okay with waiting another couple
All right, I'm
meetings.
happy
I
to
just don't think
volunteer.
a lot's going to happen. Excuse me?
No problem.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
I said I'm happy to volunteer. I'm sure I'll get help from
Yeah.
others.
I mean, what's a realistic time frame to address those?
Well, you've got to also
involvement
bring the
things?
stakeholders in.
That's what I mean, getting the stakeholders.
And I frankly, I don't think it needs, I like your suggestion, but I don't think it should be a few weeks or a month. It should be long enough to actually do a good job and come up with a new draft policy and try it out. Like, I think if we think through how to do a good job, that we shouldn't make it too short, because then you wind up with a hack job. So I think, would you be interested in leading it?
Leading,
We have to vote on making a committee, I'm sorry.
yeah, I'm not sure I understand.
No, if we assign it to a committee, that's fine, but you would have to amend your motion to assign, I think Don's asking you to assign a timeframe. Sounds like you don't want to do that, so.
I'm open to assigning a time frame, but I don't want to assign an unrealistic time frame either. I can sit here and say a week, but nothing's going to happen, right? So I'm trying to ascertain, I didn't go deep enough to say, what are all the steps that need to happen to do that? So now I'm like kind of working live to figure that out.
We've been looking at this for a year.
I get that, but we've been looking at one aspect of it. And what's an issue for me is that the other aspect needs to be looked
So
at.
let's look at that. I don't see how it's a blocker to this. I just don't.
Okay, so what's a time frame? David, do you want to work on it with me?
I'm happy to do that.
What's a time frame do you think
Well, it's impossible to say,
that is realistic?
Yeah.
Process.
Advertise the ordinance, look at the process, the way it's done.
Yeah, look at the process,
So why can't
bring
we
in,
advertise this ordinance?
No,
and then
because-
we can all get
because-
together and go through the process?
yeah, I think your mic is off. He's asking you to turn your mic on. The reason, again, why put the
look
cart
at-
before the horse? Why advertise an ordinance that we're going to look at the whole process and look at how it's done, right? Look at there's a flow of activity. Someone comes in and says, I want to do this event. Okay, what happens next? From council's perspective or from our perspective, who are not involved with public safety, what happens next is we get a piece of paper that says, here's the event in our packet, and we vote on it. Well, there's a lot that happens in there, okay? So we want to unpack that and understand that process and come up with a policy around how we do that and guidance for the borough in how to handle that, especially things like weighing the various objectives we spoke about here, okay? At the end of that, we might have more suggestions for an ordinance. We might have less. We might have different. I don't know. Maybe it's the same. Why advertise it, then do that? That doesn't make sense. It makes sense to do that, get the stakeholders' input, and then come back with a policy.
And just another point of process, again, just to kind of keep us on track. I mean, the original motion was to table it. So at this point in time, I mean, that's what's been discussed, that's what's been deliberated. The public still has to speak about it.
I'm going to amend my motion. Can I do that?
Well, so just so you know, inevitably, if this is tabled and then there's discussions that occur behind the scenes that result in substantial changes to the ordinance, we'd have to take it back through the planning commissions, which I guess is somewhat hard to anticipate at this point in time whether or not that's going to occur. But if you're going to amend your motion, you just have to state, firmly what it is so we can put it back up for discussion. But initially, we need to vote on just the motion to table it at this point.
So
After public comment.
can I amend the motion to table it to be a more detailed motion? Can I do that? Or do you have to vote? Can I retract that motion?
That's, Caroline, that's really within your discretion to decide if you're going to allow that on the current motion.
But we're not going to discuss, I think we're good. I mean, unless you have anything
I
now.
just want to point out that I'm just like looking through my records and that we did discuss the actual process of an event permit in June of 2024. We discussed that.
With the events.
When we, like, in one of our event ordinance discussions, so it has been discussed. And we did talk about the process that we have in place currently. Just wanted to say that.
And there were no issues.
Yeah.
So, yes, you can amend your motion, but I think we're good with discussions, right?
Okay.
And then we'll go to the public.
So I'm going to retract the previous motion and replace it with a motion to table this advertising of the event ordinance pending review by Community and Economic Development between now and December 31st, 2025. After which, help me out here for a second. Do I have to say now after which the ordinance can be advertised, or do I just leave it for?
I think at that point, it would have to come back before you with a revised ordinance to authorize advertising.
Okay.
All right, is there a second?
a second.
Okay, motion was made by Councilperson Finer, seconded by Councilperson Applebaum. Public, do you have any comment on this matter? Okay, I will call the question to vote on tabling in sending to Community and Economic Development. We'll roll call, start down here with Councilperson Applebaum.
So this is to table it, so yes.
Okay, Councilperson Scherer?
Nay.
Councilperson Siegel Morris?
Nay.
Nay. Councilperson Finer?
Aye.
Councilperson Carlson?
Aye.
Councilperson Stump?
Aye.
Great, motion to table carries. All right,
Motion to table till December 31st, just
Correct.
to be clear.
Yeah, as stated.
we will hold you to that. All right, anything else for us, Mr. Solicitor?
That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mayor's report. Thank you. Council member reports. Councilperson Siegel Morris.
Experience Yardley is in the midst of planning Canal. They're already discussing Halloween for next year and considering moving it to a day other than Saturday to increase attendance. And other than that, no, nothing.
Great, thank you. Councilperson Finer.
No further reports after the sidewalk stuff.
Awesome. Councilperson Carlson.
Nothing further tonight.
Councilperson Applebaum.
I'll be working on the event permit ordinance. No report, just.
Thank you. Councilperson Scherer.
I would just like to make a comment regarding community outreach. One of the aspects of community outreach is using social media and regular media to inform the people in Yardley what's going on. And I just wanted to just say it's for me too, everybody. I think we all need to be careful about what information goes out and when, and try not to give information out on any of those platforms like before it gets approved in council. And we should try to be sensitive to who it is that we're making a comment about. If it's about a business, you have to look at whether or not the business may not expect to have their business put out there to the public before they've told the public. It could affect their livelihood. So I think we just all need to be conscious of that and just try to be sensitive that, if we do it too early and they haven't prepared anybody, sometimes it's a whisper down the lane thing. People within the community hear it and it gets all twisted up. And the next thing you know, the business is having people tell them oh, you're closing, and they're not getting any business then. So we just have to be sensitive to those things. Not to be prematurely, giving out information.
Thank you.
You reminded me that I heard there was a sex store opening, and it turns out it was a therapist. Like
I
that.
said it was
That kind of thing.
That's an example
That
of.
kind of thing.
Okay. Thank you for the reminder, Councilperson Scherer. Councilperson Stump.
Yardley Business Association is having Beer Fest. If you're interested in going, you can find the information online.
October 18th.
Thank you. I was looking for the date online, but with the Wi-Fi not working, it was really hard. The Harvest Day was a big success. We got a lot of feedback was very mixed. Some people loved the new location. Some people hated the new location. Personally, I thought myself there were pros and cons. I will say, and I'll say this to you, Wes, because I stood up here and I said I didn't like the new location early on when we were planning. There were some things I really liked about the new location. So I just want to say it to you. One of the things being that it wasn't in the blazing hot sun. It was shaded. I liked that it was in the center of town. Kind of feel like bringing the town more together than kind of off being in a neighborhood. And so I was proven wrong on that, and I have no problem stating when I'm wrong or when I'm corrected. So there were definitely some issues with packing everything up and getting them out of there that the committee's going to look into. I have officially joined the Yardley Harvest Day Committee, so this will be one of my activities post-council, is I will be helping with Harvest Day and all of that. And so I actually ended up directing traffic with the Yardley Police when I found out some of our officers had been on shift for 24 hours, multiple of our officers, 24 hours straight, and they were exhausted. I actually joined in and started directing traffic with them. I remember telling one of our officers, I said, I don't have a badge or a gun or a vest or anything, but I'm loud, and so people will listen to me, and they did. So for once, that paid off. But yeah, we're definitely, the committee's going to be looking into kind of tweaking some of these things for next year. I think there are definitely some things that have to be tweaked to have it in this location again. But overall, I would say it was a success. And I guess my takeaway from that was you can't please everybody. I can't even always please myself, because I even left a mixed feedback. I was like, man, there were some things I missed, but there were some things that I really loved. So, sometimes change isn't a bad thing. With Parks and Recreation, they have some Halloween events coming up. Stay tuned to Instagram for those things. I don't think those have quite been rolled out yet, but similar to kind of things we've done in previous years. Also something that Parks and Recreation is kind of working on behind the scenes. It's interesting that we just had the budget discussion tonight and we talked about all the money allotted toward things. So one of the things that needs to be done here in the borough is the tot lot. The children's toddler playground needs a replacement, and so right now we're looking at doing the Parks and Rec is looking at doing a partial replacement. That's going to cost about $50,000-$60,000, but they're self-funding it through events like the 5K, through donations, and so that's also looking into grants. This has been ongoing over the summer, not just in the past few weeks, but just to kind of tag on our budget conversation is there's a lot of things we do here in town due to committees, to grants, to nonprofits, to people that donate, and so those are the things that make Yardley a great place to live. That concludes my report.
Were you going to ask about a date?
Oh, is this when I'm supposed to do it? Yes, please. So, correct me if the wording is wrong here, because I'm not good with legalese, but what I wanted to request on behalf of the Harvest Day Committee was a consensus of council to designate the third Saturday in September as Yardley Harvest Day, which would be, I think it's September 19, 2026. It's the third Saturday. So let me double check it if I'm going to be official here. The third Saturday would be September 19th, 2026.
Thumbs up, thumbs up.
Cool.
Thank you. All right, final item, unless there's any discussion items from anyone. Final item is other business item, Police Transition Committee name discussion and possible vote. I'll just read what I sent to you all for this matter. As part of our ongoing work to ensure clarity and transparency in borough communication, council will discuss renaming the Police Transition Committee. The current name has at times been understood by members of the public as referencing a transition to outsourced police services. For example, at our last meeting, a member of the public suggested renaming the committee to the Police Budget Committee. Similarly, during the police staff meeting held at the end of last month, a member of our police force noted that it would be an easy fix to clear up confusion. I have no attachment to the name. Council may wish to consider alternative names that reflect the committee's focus. I recognize that at this point it feels like we're making a lot of changes, but this seems an easily satisfied and worthwhile request. So I have three options. Hopefully we don't have to spend too much time. I don't think it super matters as long as we drop the word transition, but the first one would be just Police Committee, simple, straightforward. Police Finance and Operations Committee, descriptive of scope. Police Planning Committee, forward focused. We're trying to plan for the future. The committee has been strengthened by public participation, including in our membership, and the new members have injected new joy, energy, creativity into the process. So just want to give them a shout out and thank you for their work so far.
I like your middle option.
I like the first one.
Last
I like
one.
simple.
I like the third.
Okay,
Would you kindly read those again, because you...
Police Committee,
Yeah,
simple
thank
and
you.
straightforward. Do you want the subtitles too?
No, just...
Okay, Police Committee, Police Finance and Operations Committee, Police Planning Committee.
Yeah, I like Police Planning Committee because the scope, in my opinion, is bigger than just the finance and operations part of it. It's the engagement, there's other aspects to it, and so I like the all-encompassing one.
All right, and would you like to make a motion for that one, Don?
Yes, I would like to make a motion that we choose Police Planning Committee.
And would someone like to second that?
I'll second it.
Motion is made by Councilperson Carlson, seconded by Councilperson Stump. Discussion? All right. Hearing none. Oh, public? Any discussion from the public? I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. lastly, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned at 10:14.